Live.
You're listening to the Boxing Voice.
It's showtime! Welcome back, boxing fans.
Blood is good.
Fire, please! I'm after blood!
Blood is emotion.
Too much blood coming out of the eye.
Blood is a story, a drama.
Deep gash, blood pouring right into his eye.
Blood is what we want to see in terms of passion.
Blood streaming now from the cut in the eye, the nose, his mouth, his cheeks swollen, and he's still crawling.
What we want is a bloody good fight tonight.
We have Heather, the Heat Hardy. Is this you?
This is me. I think I need to talk to you every night because you make me smile.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I love you, trict. I'm okay.
You're serious? You're serious?
And that's the good thing about UK. That's why I can't hate on them guys, man. They love fucking boxing.
No fighters in England. They all bums.
Did you hear what this idiot just said?
Yo, son, you're gonna get your ass beat by Molina, son.
Are you fucking kidding me? He's overrated.
Do some pushes for me right now.
For the interview?
Yes. Let those gifted hands go. Get out of here, Virgil. Go home.
We're next.
You have the table for us to please. You can't even learn it. You have the table for us to please.
Boxingvoice.com. This is why we use the word sensation.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another very special edition of the Boxing Voice. Some big news happening today in the world of boxing, so we had to bring you this live update. This what is today? Wednesday, right? Wednesday the 1st?
Yeah, July the 1st.
July the 1st, hence the introduction. Right, so we're happy to have you guys join us, and obviously we want to continue to thank everyone that gives us a 5-star review on iTunes and also on Stitcher or anywhere else you can let the world know we're the a great source for boxing audio entertainment. Also want to obviously thank everyone that continues to visit theboxingvoice.com and checking out, you know, guys like Mario Munguia, James Allen, and Ryan O'Hara and Victor Salazar, all those articles that they're, you know, continue to pump out every day to, you know, keep you guys up to date like we're doing today. I mean, it's some big news, man. Big news with this lawsuit coming down. We're going to give you all the details, all the information, break it down for you, and we're going to go a little bit further. You know, everyone lives a busy life, especially in the life of entertainment. So we're going to try and get Lance Pugmire on from the LA Times. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. But for those that may not know, this is the gentleman that was very much in the middle of everything Mayweather Pacquiao, the down to the waiter that was meeting in the restaurant, you know, very close ties with obviously you know, Bob Arum and or Les Moonves, because I mean this guy was tweeting and on top of everything that was happening as it was happening before it was happening. So you know, hopefully he has the time to come on. He said he was busy. Hopefully he has the time to come on and we can pick his brain, because he was the one to break this this Al Haymon lawsuit. You know, Dan Rayfield, obviously everyone knows him. He was tweeting about it, but this guy had the documents, and it's a very healthy lawsuit, to say the least. But now that I've given you guys a short synopsis of what this show is going to be about, let me first introduce my two co-hosts that are here today.
3 minutes.
Mario.
What's going on? What's going on? A lot to talk about with just one subject. This is going to be a busy show, and we're only going to presumably stay focused on this one topic, but there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. Bob Arum, Top Rank suing Al Haymon, PBC, and that's on top of the lawsuit that Golden Boy, a separate lawsuit, claiming almost the exact same thing.
Showtime.
That's why Lance coming on is going to be a big thing, so that we can kind of differentiate between what the lawsuits mean in their own right. Top Rank suing for $100 million, Golden Boy suing for $300 million. How do they differ? How are they the same? But it's going to be good, man.
And without further ado,
You want the title shot at the feed? You're not even running. You want the title shot at the feed?
Well, looking at this just from the surface, it seems like it's going to be very hard to prove these allegations, Golden Boy and Top Rank, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, but I think it's everyone's objective in this sport is to kind of not necessarily be monopolized, but to be dominant, and I think that's basically what Al Haymon's trying to do, is be dominant. I mean, he's not shutting. I don't see what he's doing to shut people down. If the networks want to do business with him, that's up to them to do business with him. It's a free market, and I think he has the right to do what he's doing right now. I don't see anything that's illegal right here. But again, I'm not a lawyer.
Well, and just to get straight real quick, Top Rank lawsuit claims that manager Al Haymon is plotting a boxing monopoly. Bob Arum and his company Top Rank on Wednesday announced a legal fistfight to test powerful boxing manager Al Haymon's premier boxing championship operations, seeking more than $100 million in damages and an injunction to stop Haymon's predatory practices in a 50-page lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles. Top Rank attorneys detail litany of steps they claim Haymon has taken to thumb his nose at the mandated separation between manager and promoter with his PBC model. So that's the big thing right here, is the separation between Al Haymon as a promoter and Al Haymon as a manager. Oftentimes on this show, we don't differentiate between the two. That's the big thing, is we've never talked about a PBC event, and rarely have we mentioned Warriors Boxing or Margoles or Ludabella. Rarely has that ever happened. We continue to call it Al Haymon Boxing because that's the way it is perceived, and that's the way that it comes about. To be fair, Al Haymon continues to maintain the separation out in the public or even not out in the public, just because he stays so far behind the shadows. And so I think that's the point that you alluded to, Beeb, is how easy is this going to be to prove? How hard is this going to be to prove? I think it's going to be pretty difficult, because I agree with you. A lot of this technical writing and kind of law structured writing, the Muhammad Ali Act, it's very undefined, and it's spoken with a lot of generalities. And that's the biggest issue with all of this, is can you prove that this man is actually the promoter? That's going to be tough.
Well, that's the thing, because he's using promoters to put this on, and I just want to see exactly what the literature is on this PBC show, the whole model. If it actually has his name on any documents. He's a smart man, so I'm sure he's worked it so he could kind of, dance around all these little, loopholes that he had to do to make it so he's not listed as the promoter, to make it so he's not listed as the owner of PBC. He's basically using PBC as a vehicle. He's using the promoters as catalysts to get this brand across, and the networks are basically buying the product, and he's marketing the fighters per se to the networks. So I'm kind of guessing that's how he's doing it in terms of the literature. So I think it's going to be extremely hard to prove this, and I think he's probably going to. If I was to bet who's going to win this case, I would put my money on Al Haymon.
I don't know about that, man. When I was reading through the document, I got like 30 pages deep in it, and the Chavez check right there, that meant to me a lot, that saying that this does show that Al Haymon pays his fighters and acts kind of as the promoter. So with all that said, when reading through this, it's a lot of stuff that we already did kind of know about the whole Al Haymon situation, how he's blocking out. I mean, he did block out Lucas Matisse. They brought that up. They brought up a lot of different points on the thing. A lot of it was, just kind of it repeating itself, because I did go through it pretty far in length. But like you guys said, when I was reading through it, I thought, too, that it's going to be extremely hard to prove some of these situations. And, yes, it does look a little bit, a little bit shady. And yes, like this. but to prove it in the court of law and get $100 million for it, and also to shut down any sort of activities almost with your fighters. I don't know if you guys read what they want in the actual at the end of the document, but a lot of the stuff that they're asking for is going to be really hard to prove, like you guys said. I'm glad you brought that up because I thought I was the only one right now thinking that Al Haymon actually might have a case in this, but I don't personally know because I don't know much about court documents, and this is like the first I've seen.
So, let me read this real quick, Beeb, and then you comment on it. This is according to Top Rank attorney Daniel Petroselli. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this was in the lawsuit, the document that James and Ness has been referring to in Lance Pugmire's article. It says, if left unabated, this conspiracy threatens to fatally cripple competition in boxing, thereby causing substantial and irreversible harm to boxers, legitimate promoters, and consumers. So, Beeb, this is what this means to me, and I want you to comment on it if you would indulge me. To me, that sounds like if Haymon is allowed to do what he is going to do, and he fails, there will be irreversible harm to the fighters like Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, that he has under his wing. So to protect the overall sanctity of boxing, there needs to remain competition in case PBC ends up like the XFL and other, failed ventures that are short-lived. Then at the end of the day, at least these guys have fallback plans. Is that what that sounds like to you? Do you think that that's a cause to be worried about?
Well, the thing is this: if you look at the big picture here, you have PBC on all these networks, okay? But you still have HBO putting on fights. You still have Showtime putting on fights. You still have BET putting on fights. So I don't see how what he's doing is threatening anybody. I mean, because there's just so many fighters out there, and even though he does have a great deal of them, he doesn't have them all, and he'll never have 100% of the fighters. So I don't understand what Oscar's saying and what Bob is saying, because they still have their stable of fighters. They're still able to put on pay-per-views, and they're still able to put on their shows on Showtime or in HBO. I don't think De La Hoya is working with Showtime anymore, but they're still able to use HBO as their vehicle. And HBO is not affiliated in any way with Al Haymon, and HBO is still the biggest network in terms of boxing. So I don't see where the anxiety and fear is coming from the other side, because you're still going to have your mandatories. We just got through the biggest fight in history where Bob Arum worked with Al Haymon, and it went smooth. It didn't go perfect, but it went smoother than anticipated. They both made a boatload of money, so I don't understand why Bob would be rocking the boat here, especially since you could have a rematch down the road with Mayweather and Pacquiao. And this is not a smart move, in my opinion, because this could put a kibosh on that, just like Manny's defamation suit put a monkey wrench in the original negotiation. So to answer your question, Mario, I don't agree with the whole claims here. I just don't see how Haymon's going to be liable for anything. I don't see what he's doing wrong.
Yeah, but the document references like something I didn't even know, and I guess I learned a lot from reading this, is that in like the early 90s, music industries used to go to certain radio stations and pay them only to be able to play their music on the radio stations, and that was called a payola scheme. And in this is what they use as an example with Al Haymon coming directly from that industry to ours, stating basically that he's buying up all this time on all this network. And the way it made it seem like is that they would have an exclusive agreement with Al Haymon himself. So with that said, I think that is wrong. I don't think that's right for them to do that.
How do you prove that?
This is, what? Maybe they have some sort of contract, because one of the guys, they kept referencing him. Excuse me, I don't remember his name. I'll go back and look. But he's now working for PBC. He's like a higher up of Woodell and what's the name of the financial company? Whatever, the financial backer of the company. He was one of the higher ups. Even he was talking about the exact same situation that they're kind of going through right now, knowing that they're going to have to financially take a big hit in the media. They're going to look really bad. So, with all that said and done, there's a lot that you can't prove, but, this certain situations where they can, kind of step in and, tell someone to stand down. But I think some things do have merit, but specifically speaking of this payola scheme, this seems exactly what that is. And if that was able to pass back then, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to pass right now.
But
not only that, let me just get some here, because not only that, even let's just say worst case scenario, right? They find him. They find him guilty because of the check, right? All they're gonna do is make him get a license. It's not like they're gonna ban him. It's not gonna happen.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem with the whole thing. They're complaining about him controlling all these networks or monopolizing these networks. I have to ask you a question. When has Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya ever pitched a fight to CBS? Ever pitched a fight to NBC?
Great question.
They've never tried to do this, or if they tried to do this, they didn't make it public. I know Bob said something about it, but he never proceeded with the process. Al Haymon was the only person who took the initiative and tried and put this forth. We've never seen De La Hoya do this because they were happy doing their pay-per-views with Pacquiao and Canelo with HBO. That's the direction that they chose to go in. And Al Haymon capitalized on this concept, and he put it forward, where these other two promoters never initiated this.
But what the problem with that is, and what's actually happening right now is that it's Waddell and Reed. They're dumping a bunch of money in with Al Haymon, knowing that they're going to have to buy out all this certain time. And what they even again reference, if you need to learn a lot about boxing, how boxing works business-wise, and you want to know a lot about the situation, the Lance Pugmire article does have the document, and it really is interesting. But with that said, they're basically dumping a lot of money into this right now, knowing that they're going to have to kind of buy out these other companies and do all this other stuff. Then they're going to gouge the prices, and that's what they're afraid of. Not only are they afraid of going out of business, of course they are. Everyone's jumping over there. They're kind of monopolizing the actual system right now. But they're afraid that what's going on right now is that they're going to be paying a lot of money for a lot of time slots, put Top Rank and all them out of business, and then gouge the prices because they're the only people on the block right now at that point. They have all the top fighters. So that's what they're afraid of. It's going to ruin boxing. It's going to ruin a lot of relationships. And I think they're right in this situation. I personally have been a fan of what Al Haymon's doing. But when you look at it this way and how it could affect the sport overall, I think what he's doing is really bad. And the fallout of this could be even worse if he does fail.
Well, just tell me how. Please, continue. How could it be worse?
If he fails, then all of a sudden what? You got all these people that are you got all these networks like NBC, you got BET, Spike TV that don't want boxing now.
Okay, but fails how? Fails how, though? What is exactly failure? Because remember, on HBO and on Showtime, $1 million is good. We applaud $1 million. Hold on a minute. We applaud $1 million. We applaud that. So if he's going into this and he's already let us know, I'm going to lose for the first 3-4 years. It says it in this new document. And again, there's a lot of things that we're talking about as if you guys have read this. But the point of this show is obviously to push you to that article on the LA Times written by our guest that's going to be on in another 12 minutes, Lance Pugmire, and you get all the details yourself. But there's something I want to point out. This Muhammad Ali Act, right? Isn't this to protect the fighter?
Yep.
Yes.
You're older than me, right? Okay. What exactly does that mean for our casual fans out there? Because my thing is, if the fighters aren't complaining, then how is he breaking the Muhammad Ali Act?
I can explain it perfectly. The problem was Don King had a son, and he worked for Don King, who Don King is the promoter. So this guy would manage the fighters, and he worked for Don King, the promoter. So you can't have duality here. But the problem with this thing is, how do you prove that there's duality in what Al Haymon's doing? He doesn't have a promoter's license. Okay? He's never been called a promoter. His title is not a promoter. He's a manager. And,
one quick thing, B. We really don't know that, though. None of us know if somewhere there's a license hiding in this guy's real name that we don't know about.
No, he doesn't have one. He doesn't have one. It would be registered. It would be registered. It would be public information.
It would be disclosed. Mario's 100% right. But let me just say one more thing, and I don't want to get too off track, but I want to touch upon one thing. I'm going to keep hammering home free market here. Okay? These networks are dealing with Al Haymon, and I'm going to just reiterate something that you've said in the past, and you proved me wrong on this, and I've admitted it. The thing is the networks buy the product, and it's up to the Al Haymon, it's up to Bob Arum, it's up to Oscar De La Hoya to sell the product. Now let's look what Al Haymon has in terms of product, and let's look at what Bob Arum has in terms of product, and then let's look at what Oscar De La Hoya has in terms of product. Now, if I'm the networks and I'm looking at all three of them, and I'm looking at one person I want to deal with predominantly, of course I'm going to go with Al Haymon. You know why? Because he has the largest stable. He has a lot of young and up-and-coming guys that have potential to grow. Who does De La Hoya have? I mean, he has a lot of prospects, but what other named fighter does De La Hoya really have besides Canelo? Bob Arum has Pacquiao, but he doesn't have anybody else. Al Haymon's got it covered all across the board in terms of all the weight divisions, okay? He's got Deontay Wilder. He's got Danny Garcia. You know, he's got Floyd. He's got all those welterweights and all those junior welterweights, right? And he's got everybody. So of course he has more to sell. So that's why he's going to get more shows and he's going to get put on more. These other guys don't have the amount of the stable that he has, the amount of fighters that he has. So of course they're going to be at a disadvantage. But that's not his fault because he was the guy that was hustling. Okay? So if you have more to sell, then of course you're in the free market enterprise, you're going to do better. Okay?
You know, and to add to your point, Beeb, the one thing that, and I wrote this down because you made me think of it while you were talking, Bob Arum and De La Hoya are, buddy now, and everybody talked about the Cold War coming to an end. But really, it was a common enemy that brought them together. Are we to pretend that Bob Arum and De La Hoya weren't in a fierce rivalry a few years ago? These men would have stabbed each other in the back, and they were trying to run each other out of business. Like, that's what they wanted. They weren't leaving the market open free so that they could both succeed. No, they were trying to do their best to gobble up every single fighter, and it was a split type of power. Now Al Haymon comes along, he lowers the market, and he wins like that.
Yeah, but the problem is also that he's signing people to contracts in which he's like an advisor role, so he can't sign with a certain promoter. Yeah. That also kind of dimmens the market, and you can see exactly, like we've all talked about this, that it does seem exactly like it's a monopoly with Al Haymon. I mean, you brought up the fact that you don't understand. I'm trying to think. What was your first point you made? Oh my God, I've been the worst with shit. But anyway, it doesn't matter. With all this said and done, I really think that Al Haymon is doing something wrong. I don't understand how you guys are. I thought, for sure, everyone would come in. How is he not though?
Because it's complicated, James. This is the thing, and I hate to cut you off, but in the free market, right? It's all about competition. Okay, so Apple is trying to outdo friggin' Android, right?
Yeah.
So, in the biggest scheme of things, as I've always said, big fish eats little fish, big bank takes little bank. In the free market, companies fall by the wayside. Banks buy out the smaller banks. It's not a monopoly. You know what it is? It's competition. One guy's winning, and the other two guys are losing, and they want to cry about losing and bitch about it. That's what it is. One guy's winning, two guys are losing, so now they want to switch the game up. They want to push the goalpost in so they can score a touchdown when this guy is scoring touchdowns and he can do it with the fucking goalpost at 100 yards. These guys want to pull the free throw line back in because they can't hit the fucking free throw and they want to shoot their shots underhanded. Too fucking bad. Because De La Hoya was trying to put Arum out of business. Arum was trying to put De La Hoya out of business. These two motherfuckers are losing, and now they're bitching, and they're trying to do anything they can to win again. And it's a fucking pussy way to try to win again by crying and suing this guy. You know how you win? Get more fighters. Get a bigger stable. Put on bigger fights.
Treat them right.
Try to lure some of these guys from him over to you, like Don King used to steal Bob Arum's fighters. That's how Don King won. Don King used to control the heavyweight division. Did fucking Bob Arum ever sue Don King for monopolizing the heavyweight division? It's fucking hypocrisy, because this shit's been going on for years. and one guy's winning, and these guys can't take it. This is what competition is. This is what the free market is, because every company wants to put every other company that does the same thing they do out of business, and that's the way it is.
I'm gonna let Nestor get out. Nestor had a point, right?
Said. No, listen. I'm gonna talk because I have to, because I got a hole in my face. But he said it. He said it perfectly. When I was reading some of this stuff, and again, don't just listen to this show. Go read Lance Pugmire's article. Check out the documents yourself. Check out the actual lawsuit that James is backing. They're a bunch of kids crying. They're sad. They're sad. Oh, he's blocking venues.
Oh, he's winning. He's winning.
We're losing. He's winning. We're losing.
And let me.
He's
and
too
let me
strong.
Add something to this real quick.
He wasn't ready.
Let me add something to this real quick.
You know the funny thing about it is, Bob Arum's got fucking 60 years experience. This guy's coming from promoting concerts, and this guy's beating him. How does he
let me add something to that. One moment, Mario. There's something in that contract that says that they're doing in-house fighting and stopping PBC fighters from fighting top-ranked fighters. Listen to the fucking pot calling the kettle black. I mean, in-house. The word in-house was invented at Top Rank. It's ridiculous.
But didn't Gary Russell? But Gary Russell fought Lomachenko. How did that happen?
Yeah,
Manny Pacquiao just fought Floyd Mayweather. How did that happen? Where's the monopoly there, Bob?
Look, I'm going to make this, easy and I'm talking to James here. James, I want you to understand my point of view. I agree with you 100%. I think that what Al Haymon's doing is terrible. I am completely against it. But in the sense of it being illegal, absolutely not. I can't see any way that he's done anything illegal. And even if he has, I can't see how it's going to be proven. I think it's unfair for him to monopolize the boxing market the way that he's doing. But it's only unfair. Maybe it's unethical, but it's certainly not illegal, at least from what I've seen. The last point that I want to make, this is adding to Beeb's point. Beeb went on this rant that was really well said.
Mario, what do you mean it's not illegal from what you've seen? I don't understand.
I don't think what Al Haymon's done is illegal. I don't think that he's done anything illegal. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a cop, but I don't think he's done anything illegal. I don't think he's done anything wrong. And if he has, I don't think it can be proven. But the other thing I want to add to Beeb's point is, how did Al Haymon get all these fighters in the first place? Because Bob Arum wasn't paying his fighters right. He was taking money from these guys' pockets. That's what started all of this. It's Floyd Mayweather and Al Haymon. He wasn't paying his guys right. Al Haymon takes half the percentage that a normal manager does. A normal manager will take anywhere from 15 to 20%. I heard Al Haymon takes 10%. I've heard him take as low as 8% of whatever that agreed upon contract is. So this man knew what he was doing from the beginning. You pay these guys right, and they're going to work hard for you, and they're going to stay loyal to you, and apparently they're going to name their kids after you. And so at the end of the day, he beat these guys by not being greedy back then, and then fully displaying how hungry he is now. And you can look at it as greed, or you can look at it as brilliance. I think it's a combination of both.
If you're a fan and you say that you support boxers, and you are concerned about the boxer first more than anything, then how could you be against Al Haymon? Al Haymon has such a large stable that he can afford to do what he's doing right now. Those other guys would never think of doing what he's doing. You think Bob Arum would only take 8% of Manny Pacquiao's money? You think that would ever fucking happen? Do you think that? Absolutely not. So you want to talk about monopolies and greed? No. You know what it is? It's it's being innovative. It's being smart. It's looking ahead to the future. It's not doing things the old way, but it's starting a new trend. It's called evolution. That's how companies win, because there's always one company that gets left behind because they're doing the things the old way, and then people want something new. This guy's giving you something new. Let's look at this, and let's be honest about it. Is everyone here that has watched these PBC fights, are they happy with the product? Are they excited about the product? Don't you love every weekend you're getting 2 or 3 fights to watch, and they're quality fights, and you're getting to watch them at 8 o'clock. You're getting to watch them at 4 o'clock. You don't have to stay up till fucking 10:30, 11 o'clock at night to watch this shit. This is smart. This is innovative. This is brains. How can
You're on fire.
How can you, as a fan of the sport, complain about this? He's catering to you. He's catering to you, and he's giving you quality. I was fucking in Ness's ass last year, and I am man enough. This is the difference between me and everyone else. I'm 45 years old, but when I'm wrong, I tell you I'm wrong. And I'm so glad that I'm wrong because I'm getting to wake up and go and watch a fight at 4 o'clock, watch a fight at 8 o'clock, not having this fucking turn the TV on and wait till 11:30 at night to watch a fight, and then I'm fucking falling asleep, and then I got to watch the replay tomorrow, and everyone on Twitter tells me the fucking results. No, I don't have to do that anymore. PBC, motherfuckers.
That's right. That's right. Again, I don't have to talk at all because everything you said is 100% right. But I want to hear more from James the hater while we get Gina to get Lance on because he's the only one against the panel. He thinks that this lawsuit is well deserved, right? That's basically what you're saying.
Yo, at the end of the day, it's about what he's doing. And, I would rather, with the promoters being competitive against each other, I also think that it makes for better fights. When one person has it, then we get set up with the, what is everybody complaining about the PBC? That we're getting showcase fights with top-name fighters. So I do understand the competitive nature in which needs to be there for promotional companies. And where I'm coming from is where you guys are separating. I really hear where you guys are coming from. I promise you, I 100% agree with you. But at the same time, this is clear monopolization of the sport itself. You're locking them out from going on certain broadcasting networks. You're stealing up all the fighters. You're also blocking venues for them not to be able to do certain things because your Chavez fight was 3 weeks later. They blocked the Lucas Matisse fight for being in the State Hub because they didn't want to take it.
But since
so how can it be good? So
when?
What happens? Hold on, real quick. So what happens? Now all of a sudden this fails. We got all these fighters that don't have Al Haymon. If Al Haymon gets sued, this goes through because you guys are saying that there's no way to prove this. There's a lot of ways to prove this. With business, you can't really. What are you going to pull documents? They know there's not going to be a document that says I'm doing this. It's more circumstantial to my knowledge with business law than it is with something like this. But I don't understand. Go ahead. I guess I'll let you.
I'm just saying. Look, if he fails, why is this lawsuit acting like if Al Haymon fails, all these fighters can never fight again? Like Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya wouldn't have a field day picking up all these leftover pieces. Like, what's the big fucking deal? I don't get it. I hope Lance can tell me.
That's the big thing in the writing. That's the big thing in the. That's what I read from Lance's story, and that's what it made me understand. David Petroselli explains it in a very broad way, but that's the overall implication. So is Top Rank using this kind of legal jargon to distract us so that we can feel like, oh, well, if PBC fails, then it's going to be like the XFL and all these fighters are going to have nowhere to go? Or is that just a ruse to get us to distract us from the fact that he's just upset? The Top Rank and Golden Boy are upset that they're losing the race. They're upset that they didn't get there first.
This isn't business. This is personal. This is fucking somebody being butthurt.
Exactly.
Why would this be personal? The dude's losing millions. He even says it in the document that they're both losing money, including PBC. How can this not just be? It could be personal, whatever, but it's also business at the same time. Of course,
it is business. He's not losing money if he knows and is expecting to lose money.
It's an investment.
It's an investment. And listen,
this is what's called.
Since when do you have to be nice to your competitor? I don't gotta fucking love you. I don't gotta love you. If you're my competition, I want you to die.
In business, this is called a paper loss. You know what a paper loss is? When you have a plan and you say to yourself you're going to lose the first 3 years, and then you make it up and then some in years 3 through 6. We do this all the time at our job. It's called a paper loss. It's an investment, okay? It's like when you buy a mutual fund, when you invest in a mutual fund, And obviously, you're in it for the long haul. Vic knows this because he works in banking. And people do this all the time. I'm sure when he's trying to sell financial products to people, he tells them, don't sit there and watch it every day. Don't watch it every day. You're in this for the long haul. Al Heyman's in this for the long haul. PBC's in this for the long haul. They weren't expecting to make $1 billion right out of the gate. They weren't expecting to do that. This is for the long haul. Okay.
Yeah, but with losing $200 million currently right now is what they're thinking in the first 24 months of PBC. Where do you think they're going to make up this extra revenue? Of course, it does seem like the writing's on the wall that they're then, after getting basically the majority of the market, they're going to gouge the prices of what you need to do on TV. They're going to gouge HBO now that Top Rank isn't around.
They're going to continue. They're going to continue to get sponsors, James. People are going to jump on board.
With the ratings that they're getting right now, what happens?
The ratings aren't that bad. How are the ratings bad?
That's the thing.
They've slid since day one.
No, they're not great. The ratings aren't great.
Doesn't talk shit.
But
yo,
do we know how these things are being calculated? Do we know how these things are being calculated? Like, just because it's on network television, is 2 million not enough? Because boxing itself is doing 1 million on paid television. This is what I'm saying.
You know what the problem also?
Why is the bar set higher if there is no standard?
Because there's more access in for network TV. There's more chances for viewers.
But this is still new. Let people watch it for a while. Let people get. I was talking to people before that never watched boxing before, and they were flipping through the channels and say, "Oh wow." I was flipping through the channels the other day, and I saw boxing on Channel 4. This is still new. Once people start getting used to it, I think the viewership is going to go up. It's still new.
Yo, I've made this argument before where I feel that they're rebuilding almost certain champions. We've seen them for years. People and the casual fans don't say, or they don't have much of a. They don't know who Keith Thurman is, so they're not going to put them all against each other and burn out.
Let Vic jump in. He's waiting to get in. Let Vic jump in. Go ahead, Vic.
All right, go ahead, Vic.
You guys hear me? Is my mic all right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Video's off, but we can hear you perfectly.
Go ahead, Vic.
I mean, I guess what the complaint is from other people and from other promoters who are against Al Heyman is actually what he's paying the fighters, which I don't know. If you're a fighter, if this is about the fighters in this Ali Act, or is this about the promoter? Or is this more about the antitrust? What is Bob Arum really trying to do here?
He's trying to win. He's trying to win, and he's trying to stop him losing.
If this is about the Antitrust Act and all that stuff, I see where Bob's coming from. But with the Ali Act, how many Al Heyman fighters are complaining right now?
None.
The Ali Act was created to protect the fighter. So if someone's going to enforce, if someone's going to enforce the Ali Act, it's up to the fighter to do that.
All right, guys, let me interrupt you really quick. We're gonna get Lance on. Lance, how you doing?
Real good. How you guys doing?
Great. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to interview. I know you're a busy man. I didn't want to botch your last name. Probably did a few times. So if you want to pronounce it for the people.
Sure, it's Pugmire.
Oh, so I was right. Perfect. So listen, obviously your story's a really big thing today. So if you could just elaborate a little bit in layman's terms for us casual fans and explain to us what exactly is Al Heyman doing wrong and what is he being sued for?
Well, he's being sued for a couple of things. I mean, basically, Bob Arum, a rival promoter, says he would like to stage fights both against Heyman fighters and on network television. And he feels like with the Premier Boxing Champions model that Heyman has established since earlier this year, that both efforts are being denied. And Arum's claim is that this is not good for the sport, this is not good for the fans, and it's going to hurt. At the end of the day, it's going to hurt the sport entirely.
Now, with fights like Lomachenko, Gary Russell, and Mayweather, Pacquiao, isn't that evidence enough to show that Al Heyman is willing to do business with Bob Arum?
Well, Lomachenko Russell, that was basically, he was forced into taking that fight by the sanctioning bodies. And with Mayweather Pacquiao, I think it came down to the financial considerations that were at play. That clearly for Floyd Mayweather, there was no, whose timeline and career was running short. there was not really any other opponent who was going to allow him to make the money, which was reported today that he's going to get a bottom line of about $220 million out of that fight that Manny Pacquiao would make. So yes, at the end of the day, these fights have been made, and perhaps they still could be made in the future, but it's definitely going to be a few and far between type option when it comes to Haymon and anyone else.
Now, do you happen to know why exactly these two can't get along?
Well, it all dates with, Floyd Mayweather used to be promoted by Bob Arum up until about 2006, and he ended up leaving under, an act orchestrated by Al Haymon, who Mayweather hired as his manager. And from that point forward, Haymon and Arum have really disagreed and not even done business together until the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. So there's been a lot of venom in the past. And clearly all along from the time that Al Haymon started this PPP model, Arum has had problems with it. And throughout the duration of the promotion between Mayweather and Pacquiao, Bob Arum was raising points of contention that Haymon was trying to profit excessively by scalping some of the tickets for the fight, but he was holding tickets back from the public, and just the way that he operated throughout in allowing that fight to proceed the way Arum would usually want it done. These guys don't like each other at all, and they ultimately got into a room and got the fight done in the home of TBS executive Leslie Moonves. But it was a very fragile bond that happened, and from this point forward, obviously till now, when this $100 million lawsuit gets slapped on Haymon's desk, there's still some serious friction.
Now, Lance, just before you came on, we were chopping it up and burning on this issue. For me, this comes down to one thing versus the other. It comes down to desperation versus causality. In your opinion, is this a ploy, not a ploy, but is this Arum's, I guess, Hail Mary attempt to set things back in order and desperate to compete, or does he have actual basis for this lawsuit and it should be treated with legitimacy?
I think it should be treated with legitimacy from the standpoint that, some of these situations that have happened, such as with the middleweight champion Peter Quillen, Arum, points this out, or at least his attorneys pointed this out in the lawsuit. Here's Quillen with an offer of $1.4 million to fight non-Haymon fighter Matt Korobov, and instead he walks away from his greatest purse ever and walks away from the belt that he had just won because Al Haymon tells him to. And yes, there may be promises about greater financial purses in the future, but that hasn't happened as of now. And so Arum's point is that, look, who's to say that this guy has all of these fighters' best interests at heart? Certainly, a lot of them, have improved their standing in life due to their association with Al Haymon. Leo Santa Cruz, who I think has had homes purchased for himself and for his mother, and his life has definitely improved by the way that Haymon has selected fighters for him and perhaps protected him from dangerous fights. He's done a great job as a manager, but overall, there is still enough, ammunition that Arum can rely on to say, look, we need a closer look at this guy, and a judge needs to step in and say, are all of these acts that Haymon is doing, is this in the best interest of the sport? Is this legal?
Okay, so from that or from your answer,
I think once and for all, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, once and for all, he wants an answer for it. And certainly it's in his interest to try to get a judge to rule, against Haymon. But I think that, Arum is difficult to negotiate with himself. There would be some fights that Arum would not make, with Haymon fighters. But I think at the end of the day, he wants the opportunity to be able to do at least some business when the opportunity presents itself, instead of having everything under the Al Haymon umbrella.
Now, I don't want to treat this like, you have all the answers for us, but I know you're well-versed in so many different areas, and especially when it comes to these kind of matters. You've done a lot of great work in the past. So just in your opinion, I know you can't give us any definites, but just in your opinion, we've seen what happened with, today with the junctions coming down for the airlines. What are the chances that Golden Boy and Top Rank's lawsuit ignite or at least spark the interest of the Federal Trade Commission or the Department of Justice? I mean, is there any chance that any departments will get involved based on any of the findings?
That's a very good question, and I think that's the ultimate question, really. I mean, there are some promoters. I mean, I've spoken to Lou DeBella at length about this subject, and Lou is a promoter who has helped the PBC promote fights, and he said he helped write the Muhammad Ali Act, and he says, look, no one has ever, had to enforce the Muhammad Ali Act, and the situation here is that many of these fighters feel, as we spoke about, is that their position in life has improved under Al Haymon. So, is anyone going to get involved? And I think that by this lawsuit, on top of the Golden Boy lawsuit, I think it's receiving the attention that all parties want it to receive. And when you've got, powers like the Association of Boxing Commissions also saying, look, we need to look at this situation with Al Haymon, and even here in California, the situation where Haymon was doing some venue blocking, keeping someone like Oscar de la Hoya, the Golden Boy of Los Angeles, from promoting fights in Los Angeles. There's a lot of practices here that are troubling to people in authority. And will that rise to the level now to where the feds will get involved and scrutinize the situation and provide some clarity as to what exactly can be done? When you look at the precedent of when the federal government has stepped in the past in regards to boxing, it does seem to be these types of situations where someone is overstepping their bounds or trying to, practice or move toward a monopoly.
Now, Lance, isn't Bob and Oscar kind of being hypocritical, though, because they had their little tiff, and basically they weren't doing business with each other, and they were only doing in-house fights for a while themselves. So aren't they doing the same thing that Al Haymon's doing to some degree, or didn't they do the same thing that Al Haymon did?
Yeah.
To some degree.
For sure, there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here. I mean, when Arum brought Pacquiao back to HBO soon after, announced that they would no longer be doing business with Golden Boy, who at that point was aligned with Al Haymon. And so, there is a precedent for this type of behavior happening. I mean, Arum was pretty adamant in the past that he would not be staging any top-ranked Golden Boy fights. You're right. What's the difference? I think that what the difference is here is that there's these other things at play where, absolutely now none of these fighters are having the opportunity to fight against top-ranked fighters. I mean, there was even a point in the lawsuit saying that these guys couldn't even be sparring partners against any top-ranked fighters. Pacquiao could not get any Haymon fighters to serve as his sparring partners in preparation for Mayweather. And when you talk about the practices of blocking the venues and doing some of those other things, I mean, the television deals that Haymon has in place with NBC, CBS, ABC, Arum feels like he has now no chance to do anything beyond HBO and the other Time Warner entity, True TV, in regards to placing any of his fights on those networks as he would have in the past. So with all of that in play, it's a little bit more sinister and a lot different than just I'm not going to have my guy fight against any of those guys.
Lance, how instrumental was that Julio Cesar Chavez post on Instagram showing the 2 checks? I know it was included in the lawsuit. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, you know what, and I'm still doing some reporting on that. That is a great point, because while in the lawsuit it said, look, we basically have a smoking gun here of Al Haymon, Haymon Sports, providing a $1.75 million check to Julio Cesar Chavez. If you look on that photo, that check is lying on top of another check that's about for $2.4 million. And when I talked to the California State Athletic Commission today, they said that the actual purse for Chavez in that April fight against Fonfara was $2.5 million. So the question that has not been answered, I did ask it of the PBC attorney spokesman who issued a statement today. They would not answer the question. The question is, on top of that check for $2.4 million, is that check from Haymon perhaps a bonus, or is it something that has absolutely nothing to do with the purse, even though on the memo it says purse? So the PBC people are saying that there's some wiggle room here, that is not as it was described in the lawsuit. So again, we'll keep pursuing that for an ultimate answer. But at this point, it's sort of uncertain exactly what that check is for.
Now we know Golden Boy has that lawsuit. Now Top Rank has joined in. Do you foresee other non-Haymon entity / promoters, aka the sham promoters, as Bob Arum put it, jumping in on this lawsuit with Haymon?
With Haymon or against Haymon, I mean, many of these guys, like Goosen Promotions, Al Haymon has been the best thing that ever happened to them. Lou DiBella, same thing. These guys now have business where before they didn't, and their star fighters had kind of fallen by the wayside. Now they have a major event to put on, and they're players again. Another thing that's at play here, and where the situation could change, is let's not forget that Richard Schaefer, who formerly had Golden Boy Promotions, should be back in business, or can be back in business as early as August. And I know his plans are to seek a promoter's license. So with that, does he become the promoter of choice for Haymon, and then these other guys are out, and then maybe they view this situation as Arum and De La Hoya view it now?
Now, hey Lance, this is James. I just have a quick question for you. So Bob Arum is a Harvard Law graduate, and you would think that something like this has been coming a long time. This isn't something that we, kind of just, randomly saw. What took Bob so long? Did it take the ABC kind of following that injunction to kind of get some, eyes on Al Haymon? Did it take Golden Boy to make that lawsuit? Is he trying to, join up in a mutiny, or is this something that's been brewing for a long time?
That's a great question. Exactly what the timeline was, we don't know that at this point. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya had a very bitter falling out with Al Haymon, and with Haymon taking, his fighters back away from Golden Boy Promotions really hurt Oscar's business. And so Oscar's lawsuit that had been out there, that had been filed in May for $300 million, it's something that, Oscar and Bob talk frequently. And so with Bob in agreement, and also seeing that his own business is suffering because of the PBC model, Arum at that point stepped forward. But as we said, he long has had adversarial relationship with Al Haymon.
So my last question before I pass it back over to Ness would be, you have a lot more experience in the sport than I have. You know the back end of the business a little bit more. Should Al Haymon lose his lawsuit, he does get sued, he gets blocked from all his fighters. What kind of backlash would we see in boxing with this, or would there be any whatsoever? Because some of my other co-hosts feel that there'll be nothing, they'll kind of just get faded into other promotional companies. But I feel like the networks or something like that would have some sort of backlash and some sort of bad taste in their mouth with this.
If what? Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
No, mainly just saying that, what kind of backlash would boxing have if Al Haymon wins or loses this? If something happens where his company fails and the PBC doesn't happen to pick up the way it wants to, and start seeing the financial responsibilities coming back. What kind of backlash can we see if Al Haymon fails in PBC or even most certainly loses this lawsuit?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the thing is that Al Haymon is a very smart man, and you would think, I mean, when this, when the PBC model emerged, the thing that we kept hearing from them was, look, Haymon is telling these guys, the fans want entertaining fights, guys. I mean, he was telling these guys this: the fans want entertaining fights. Lay it all out on the line here, and let's put on the best product possible here. I mean, it's in-house. He's talking to these guys. And from that perspective, yes, it sounds like it can be a great thing. Obviously, if it falls apart, I think that what you're going to see is, boxing as it was before. I don't know that there's going to be a backlash beyond anything that we've already seen with boxing. I mean, isn't boxing has weathered so many backlashes in the past. I'm sure it can stand up to another one. But, De La Hoya and Aram's points are, look, we just want a fair playing field. We just want the opportunity to stage the fight and make the deals that we all deserve to make and let the chips fall where they may. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins, who loses this. It may ultimately just be settled, and then we can all go about our business. But how exactly it comes out is something that I think Aram and De La Hoya want a judge. They want the legal bodies to step in and make that decision rather than the continued bickering continue.
Lance, before we let you go, I just want to ask one final question. You're a boxing fan, obviously, right? Or are you more of just a writer?
Of course, I love the sport, and I cover the sport as well. So.
Okay, so have you been enjoying PBC series?
Some of the fights have been very good. Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of negativity about the PBC fights, but I think that that's unfair in some cases. I mean, some of these fights have been pretty entertaining. And the other fact is that having boxing on network television is good for the sport. The more eyeballs you have, watching the events and learning who these guys are, it can do nothing but broaden the interest in boxing beyond what it was.
I want to ask, it's only been 6 months since their first show, and they've put on some pretty good fights. It's been pretty good for a boxing fan, and like my co-host Beeb said earlier, the fact that we don't have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning anymore, and just so many things. Like you said, it being free, the fact that we get all this extra content on all these different networks. Could we find some way? Are these guys going to be able to find some way where this series doesn't disappear? Because, like you said, having boxing on network television is good for the sport.
Yeah, I think that all parties involved have talked about trying to bring boxing to free network television, and I think that the fact that Haymon has done it, and at some point the ratings have been pretty good in spots. I know kind of shaky in some others, but overall pretty good. I mean, to bring boxing back to afternoon network television is something that, for us in our 40s, it's something we can remember as kids, and it's been very enjoyable. So I think that, look, no matter what these promoters do, the boxers are going to still exist, and they're still going to be out there seeking a living. And so with what Haymon has done with PBC, it's not like it's going to immediately be halted. And so, the networks are going to be able to look at at these numbers and say, whether it stays or it goes away, hey, this is we've got some pretty good numbers here. This is something that we should stick with as long as we do it like this. And I think with the model that has been at play for, like you said, nearly 6 months now, it's something that I think overall has been a good boost for the sport.
Well, Lance, we don't want to hog up too much more of your time. If you want to give out your Twitter, any social media where the fans could, follow you if they haven't done so already, with your great work, because I want to take this opportunity to, personally say thank you for everything that you did up into the build-up for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. That was excellent coverage, the way you were bringing things out and just keeping us up to date on a day-to-day basis. That was excellent. So congratulations to you on that. And like I said, any social media at this time that you want to give out?
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you want to get onto my Twitter, it's at LA Times Pugmire, which is Pugmire.
All right, Lance. Well, have a good evening, and thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Anytime.
All right. All right, Mario, so I'm going to kick it to you, and we will do our, I guess, PBC. What are you calling it?
Well, this is the question that I wanted to pose to everyone. We are officially, and even though Ness said 6 months, he meant 3 months, we are officially done with the first quarter of PBC and Al Haymon since he started the first show. Obviously there are 4 quarters in a year, 3 months, so I think this is now a good time to to figure out where we are and give him a grade, give PBC its report card, see where Haymon is at, taking into account all the fights that we've gotten on every network, including Showtime, because I think there is a difference between Showtime last year and Showtime under the PBC bandwagon or flag. So assessing the fights that we've gotten thus far, not only that, but we have to also take into account the fights that have already been made that we will get outside of the first quarter. So fights like Carl Frampton and Chavez Jr., they need to be assessed because PBC is not just about the promotion and the fights being done, it's about the fights being made. So anything that's been done within these first 3 months is fair game. Vic, I think you would be the perfect person to start this off in assessing the grade. As far as what we've seen thus far, the highlights, the missteps, the failures, and I guess the overall excitement as we head outside of the first quarter.
Well, in my opinion, I don't want to be too harsh, but I'm gonna give them a C. I'm gonna say it's been average, but I want to kind of give them closer to a B. But they've made some good fights, but then they've given us fights that we kind of didn't want to see. And again, that's any promoter though. I think the best fight that they had on paper was probably Porter Broner. The best fight that actually happened might have been Ricky Burns versus Figueroa or Kameda versus, what's his name, McDonald, the dude from the UK. I think jumping off the gate, the whole Hans Zimmer, no music entrance was kind of whack. I still don't like that there's no ring girls and people walking with the guys. I like the entourages. I don't know, whatever. Call me whatever you want. I like Broner with his 50 people and Mayweather with his 50 people. But I see it as it's still better than Friday night fights. I don't know. Friday night fights, I couldn't. These guys that they might be good bar fights, but they weren't anything specific. I'd rather see Chris Algieri or Amir Khan over some guy I never heard of in Friday night fights. Yeah, of course. So that's my assessment.
Letter grade, buddy. Letter grade. We obviously we are here in America, so A, B, C, D.
He gave him a
F.
C. He gave him a C.
I gave him a C. I gave him a C.
Oh, C. Okay.
C, trying to keep it closer to a B minus, but I'll stick with C. We'll see what the next quarter brings. July to October, September.
Yeah. Ness, what do you think?
Well, no, actually, it's James go.
Okay, go James.
Yo, see, I'm not gonna be as hard as I was talking shit about the whole lawsuit and stuff. I'm not gonna be so hard. I've actually liked what Al Heyman's been doing, and needless to say, or not needless to say, but even though I talk shit about how he's trying to monopolize boxing, I think what he's doing is good. We're gonna see a lot of fights on certain networks that we didn't see before. I really enjoy that. The fact that we get Spike TV, we get you get it on BET, we get it on everything now. And then the fights on paper, maybe they didn't turn out the best, but I did think that Broner Porter was great. I also thought Robert Guerrero versus Keith Thurman was good. So we did get a lot of competitive matchups. So, I mean, I'm not really too shy about the competition or saying that I think it's too bad. I even think Keith Thurman versus Collazo, for what it is, and I understand what it is, even Lance talked about it, is that you got to kind of reestablish these fighters and kind of promote them again. So I understand what it is. So I think I'm going to give him a B, but I think he could have gotten an A, but with getting more competitive matchups. But I don't hate what he's doing. I see what he's doing. I enjoy the fights that I've been getting, and maybe on paper they're not the best, but I'll give him a B.
I've set the bar so low, and I've been so impressed with this because I was the biggest critic of this, and I bashed it, and I was skeptical of Al Heyman, but I absolutely loved it. I loved it so far. I'm going to give it a B+. I've really enjoyed it. I loved that Durrell James DeGale fight. I really, really enjoyed the Algieri Khan fight, the McDonald Kameda fight. I loved that fight. Figueroa, it was a Ricky Burns Figueroa, I believe. That was a great fight. I think overall the matchups have been quality. We've had maybe a few mismatches here and there, which is what you always get on occasion. But I think this has been a great, great series. I love the fact that I get to watch fights at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock at night. I just love that. I love that concept, and that's great. And I love being able to watch it on CBS, NBC. I just love how the schedule is chock full of fights now. It just makes boxing so much more exciting and pleasurable. And me being an older guy, it's like it's nostalgic to me. It's a throwback to the old days. I feel like, when I used to get my hair cut on Saturdays, every other week I'd go to the barbers and there'd be a fight on NBC or ABC or CBS, and we'd sit there and watch the fights together, me and my barber, after we finished cutting my hair. And, we'd have a bowl of soup or something. That was great, man. I loved it, man. So it just brings me back to the old days. Go ahead, Nestor.
Actually, Mario's going to read off the list of recent last 3-month PBC fights that we could compile. We're not machines.
So
before you go, Mario, I just want to say B-. That Sunday fight really got me in. The Bartholomew, not the Bartholomew one, but the Vasquez, whatever, Omatoso.
Did I change it?
But that was a solid card regardless, because
it was.
The Ramses DeMarco's a good fight. That was a good fight on paper.
It was a Sunday afternoon card, man.
Did I change your mind, Vic, with my speech?
I totally forgot about that card, dude. I actually like that card. Yeah, so B- for me.
Well, yeah, this kind of sucks because I spent about an hour compiling a list, and it is taking forever to pull up. I don't know why. I'll give my assessment, and then I'm going to read off the list once it pulls up. I'm going to give it a solid B. I think that at the end of the day, Vic nailed home exactly what the overall point is, and that the fights that we're getting are better than what we were used to on those dates. First of all, Friday night fights, you're absolutely right. Fox Deportes, they're better than those fights. Fox Sports 1, better than those fights. Unimas, they're better than all those fights. beIN Sports. Now, the second point is that we've never, at least as far as I know, had Sunday boxing. So not only is he introducing better fights by comparison to those days, but he's also introducing a brand new day for boxing, which has to be taken into account. That being said, the other aspect that I think has to be acknowledged is that we're getting more boxing. Overall, you have to look at what he's doing, and the fights have been lackluster. A lot of them weren't necessarily mismatches, but they weren't necessarily exciting either. You look at some of the fights, like I even think that Guerrero Aaron Martinez, these fights they weren't exactly what they would. Okay, I'll put it to you this way: the ones that we didn't expect much from have been some of the best, and the ones that we thought would be ultimate clashes haven't been necessarily great. But that's the best part about PBC, is that they're giving us an outlet that we normally don't use, and now they're on more channels giving us more. So there's no comparison to NBC fights, right? And if you look at the CBS fights that we've had in the past, that Leo Santa Cruz was on and a few other guys, they're better than those cards. So he has the fighters, he has the outlets. I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing the Danny Garcias versus the Broners, the Sean Porters versus the Keith Thurman. And look, we already had Adrian Broner versus Sean Porter. A lot of people said it was an ugly fight. A lot of people, weren't super thrilled with the way it went about. But it was a great matchup. At the end of the day, we got it. It was something exciting between two exciting fighters, and it paid off. So I'm going to give him a B. I think it could be better, and I think it will be better. I think that once Deontay Wilder gets into the mix, because he's still not a PBC fighter officially in terms of network TV, it's going to be a lot more entertaining. And the other aspect that I'm waiting on is the competitiveness of fighters fighting more often. Okay, because I said you have to assess what fights we've gotten and what fights we're going to get. Keith Thurman's already fighting again. Who would have expected that with that alien thing on his head? I mean, this is great. Deontay Wilder's talking about fighting another 3 times. I mean, it's good what he's doing for sure. So I give it a B.
Well, I'm just gonna say that like Beeb, I kind of set the bar low, but it could never be lower than Unimas, Solo Boxeo, ESPN, Fox Sports Deportes, Fox Sports 2, MSG, whatever, TNC, whatever it is, whatever's out there that's not HBO, Showtime, and Showbox. This could never be worse than that. And it's proven that because, we'd have good fights. We had Emmanuel Taylor versus Chris Algieri on ESPN, but we also had Chris Algieri versus Amir Khan on, PBC. So I just got to side with the guy that has more talent, the guy that is willing to lose dollars to make good TV for me. I got to side with the fact that it's okay to miss a fight nowadays because there's so much boxing. What was that fight? Somebody just fought that I didn't even get to see yet. The Hassan and Dam fight. I still haven't seen that. But guess why? Because Fox Sports doesn't have it on demand. But PBC, all their fights are on demand. You could just type in PBC.
Is it really?
Yeah. Word.
Wow.
On Xfinity they are. On Xfinity they are.
Wow.
Let me ask you guys a question though, and hey, actually Mario's the one that brought up the point, and it brings up a good one. Is that do you think that obviously buying up all these networks, get the fighters on there is a good strategy in the sense of business, but do you think that it also creates a sense of competitive nature to the fighters themselves? Like you can almost see the tier system. You got NBC, Spike TV, and then you got like True TV. You could see how I guess there would be some sort of tier system. Do you think it kind of competes or gives them an extra competitive burn to want to be on these certain networks and kind of compete at a higher level to give us better fights?
Let me just jump in because I never got to assess or give a grade, but I'll just say that the PBC as a whole has these guys fighting. Everything that comes out their mouth is, I'm on PBC. I'm on network television. I gotta shine. Look at what Vasquez and Omotoso did. Look at what Porter did. He said it before the fight. Man, it's the name. It's the network being on NBC because remember, his first fight was on Spike TV. These guys are pushing harder and working harder to be on that big stage. You know why? Because guys like Sugar Ray Leonard told them already, all you got to do is perform. All you got to do is perform. Look, I'm going to give it an A because I didn't even know it was 3 months. I thought it was 6 months worth of fight. You telling me we got all that in 3 months?
March, April, and May. Yep.
Damn.
But we're in July, so we've been
Listen,
through June, so technically 4 months.
I want
my
one
bad.
of
April,
our.
May, June. Yeah, my bad. I don't know why I said yeah.
So how many is it? How many is it?
Well, I guess technically it is 4 because they started at the beginning of March. So it's really, you have to count March, April, May, and June. So technically it's been 4 months, although they started in March, it'd be April, May, and this would be the end of the 3rd month, June. But yeah, technically they've had 4 months of fights.
Well, end of the 3rd month, June. You don't never start the month of. You can't count that, right? Or do all right. What? Regardless, 4
Well, they started
months,
at the beginning.
4 months, 3 months. How many more fights is that than HBO and Showtime together?
Exactly.
True. That's a fair point.
Like, and I'm just asking one of our listeners out there, if you have the time, let me know how many PBC fights are there versus to HBO and Showtime. Let's just see who's giving us more, because if all that was in 3 months, Jesus, I felt like it's been a year already.
Yo, but to be fair, he also has 200 clients as opposed to maybe top
Hey,
ranked
and whose fault is that?
And I'm not talking shit about
wait a
it,
minute,
but of course we have fights
James.
every
Wait a
week
minute,
in this
James.
show.
I'm a real estate agent, and I'm not gonna have listings. No, James, I sell chicken, and I don't got no fucking chickens.
Yo, I don't understand why
James,
you're
I
getting
sell
upset.
tires.
Go ahead,
I sell tires, but I don't have any tires at the tire shop. So now we're gonna fault them for having inventory, Beeb. I mean, this is hilarious.
I'm going out to dinner, and I go to a steakhouse, and they tell me they're out of steak, and then I go to the next place, and they have steak. I'm gonna eat steak there.
No, it's a monopoly.
You guys, hold on,
it's a
hold on,
monopoly.
chill.
He bought all the steak from you, Beeb. He bought all the steak.
Yo, you guys are too busy trying to make your jokes to understand what I'm trying to say. I wasn't saying that it was a bad thing. All I'm saying, of course, he'll have fights every week if he has 200 fighters. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Well, let me ask you something, James. Let me ask you something, and pose this to the listeners, right? Pose this to the listeners, right?
ahead.
The guy that just started 3-4 months ago has
Yeah.
200. The 80-year-old guy who's been doing this 80 years, he doesn't have 200?
But where in my statement did I say that was a bad thing?
No.
Why you
I'm
guys
not
acting
saying
like
I'm not,
the
but
same
I'm not.
thing?
I'm not addressing that at you. I'm
Okay.
just saying in general. Like we're living in an age where people are crying over a guy that's been in business 4 months when you've been in business, I don't know, 40 years. You didn't prepare.
James, if you turn pro tomorrow, right? Where would you rather be fighting for? With Al Haymon on PBC or with Barbarian? Would you rather go?
Al Haymon, NBC baby.
All right then, baby. All right.
And I want to make a point. I want to make a point to address exactly what y'all are saying. This is a point that I brought up before in the past. Thomas Hauser wrote a story about PBC right as it started. I think it was right after the first initial card between Thurman and Guerrero, and in it he had an excerpt from one of Al Haymon's only interviews ever, and this was back when he was in the music industry. This was so hidden, I don't even know the name of the magazine. I can't even remember it. This is how non-existent it was. I don't know where this guy found it because I've been trying to dig to find it in its entirety, and I can't. But Thomas Hauser had this interview, and it was Al Haymon as he was in the music industry and talking about it. What he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't have these quotes in front of me, but what he basically said is, if people knew how open the music industry was to making money, if people knew how they could not exploit it, but more of how they could take advantage of some of the loopholes to make the money, everyone would try to be in the music industry. It was a no-brainer to him. That's, I think, what happened in boxing. For years, there were promoters, and there were managers, and there were trainers, and there were fighters. But along came this man who realized, hey, if I do things a certain way, I could, take advantage of all these things. But who's to say that that was bad of him? Like, I think Bob Arum was upset because he didn't fully realize the opportunities in front of him, and it was probably already too late. Once you're a promoter, you're a promoter. He started Top Rank. It worked for years. Why would he ever suspect that something was going to go, awry? Like, why would he ever expect it was going to bite him in the ass? But essentially, all the things that he laid out in this interview, Al Haymon, about the music industry, he essentially came to boxing and did the exact same thing. It's incredible how smart this man is, how he has this grasp of just the way things work. It's calculating. It's in a lot of ways, if you ever seen like the movie Beautiful Mind, or you understand how these people talk about math and how they quantify these crazy things in their head. That's kind of like what Al Haymon does. He's just on this spot and he can figure out these things, and that's, I think you can't hate on him for it, but at the same time, you got to feel for some of these promoters that were stuck in this loop the whole time, and Al Haymon came to and beat him to the punch.
Well, listen, I think what Top Rank has done over the years has been good for them. They're also expanding markets in Dubai and wherever, China. And I think Bob Arum's lawsuit has more credence to it than Oscar's lawsuit. But at the end of the day, the system was broken. The system was way broken. And everyone had said, we want to get boxing back on network TV. Right? Didn't Oscar say it? Didn't Bob say it? Didn't everyone in boxing, oh, we got to get it back on network TV. Now the guy that's done it is getting all the backlash. And listen, I'm no Al Haymon fan. You guys know it. I'm for the fan. I'm for the guy that gives me the better fights. So while I still am hard on him, there's still a lot of things he needs to clean up and fix up. He's actually doing something more than what most promoters are doing now. So maybe it's what Paco Vacarsel said, that the rules need to be changed in order to specify what a manager, promoter, advisor need to be, and maybe we'll have some clearance for this. But I don't know what will happen. I just want the best fights. And while I do think Bob Arum's lawsuit has credence, the guy Al Haymon did what all these promoters said that they were going to do, and that's bring boxing back to network TV. So that he deserves credit for.
Well said.
I just want to read Oscar De La Hoya's comment or quote on the matter, and also pose a question to my co-host here. Why are we putting more importance on Top Rank's $100 million lawsuit when Oscar De La Hoya, back in May 6th, did a $300 million lawsuit? Is it A, because Bob Arum comes from a lawyer background and his lawyers and contracts are usually airtight, hence Mikey Garcia still dangling from a string somewhere? And B, because Oscar is so unreliable at the moment, or his track record is muddy? Why is this lawsuit all of a sudden this big deal and Oscar's wasn't? But beginning quote is, I applaud Bob Arum and Top Rank for stepping up on behalf of fighters, not only in their own stable but across the sport. Those like Bob and myself who have spent the bulk of their lives around boxing understand that the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act is a crucial piece of legislation that serves to protect boxers and enhance the sport. Golden Boy Promotions will continue to push forward with our own lawsuit to ensure our wonderful sport continues to grow in a competitive, just manner.
You know, I personally think that I think this whole thing comes down to more or less that the reason why people care about it more is Bob Arum in Top Rank is far larger of a company, far more historic as a company than Golden Boy Promotions. They're not named Al Haymon in the whole PBC. They're the other big dogs in the block. So when they were able to join forces and start doing this lawsuit with Golden Boy, I think that's what made the big splash. Because, I mean, realistically, Golden Boy doesn't have even that many fighters. We know, a lot of people know that this company isn't, I mean, just a few months ago, they didn't even have a CEO ahead of their company. So I think the reason why a lot of people all of a sudden caring about this and this new lawsuit has a lot more clout is because you have someone like Bob Arum that does have the Harvard Law graduate degree. You also have Top Rank, who's the biggest promoter not named PBC. So that's where I think the big difference is, and that's where the line was drawn now where people are caring about it more.
Well, James, PBC is not a promoter.
Well, but let's be real.
But I get what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying, but that's what they're alleging is also that's the problem with this is that if I understand that everything's going good, if something starts going bad, though, having someone that's a promoter and a manager at the same time is a very bad thing for something to happen like that. So I know you were trying to make a joke and just kind of poke fun, but I mean, I really don't know. I guess that's all I got to say, but...
No, I mean, the reason I think this holds more weight is because of Bob Arum's track record. And in my honest opinion, not only that, but wasn't Oscar the one that was campaigning to have one promoter in the sport not too long ago?
That's true.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what
if,
B brought up.
if you're Heyman's
You
lawyer,
guys are being
I mean,
hypocritical. That's what B brought up earlier.
how is this guy making a claim against me when, Oscar's on record saying, we should be like the UFC, and I want to be like the UFC, and I want to be boxing's Dana White. That's why I think Top Rank's lawsuit has more merit.
Well, and the one thing that I don't want to get lost in the equation is that I agree with you, Vic. I think Top Ranks does have more merit, but I feel much more for Oscar in the sense that this whole time, Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman, I mean, they were working towards this goal, and Oscar just got left out of the loop. Assuming that they were going to be able to take over Golden Boy, there would have been no issues if Oscar would have just sold his company. But the fact that he didn't want to do that, now he's left high and dry. He built a lot of these fighters, and whether he was working for it or not, it doesn't matter if Richard Schaefer was the mastermind and Al Heyman was the mastermind, they were the ones doing the actual work. It was Oscar De La Hoya's company at stake. And he got gypped out of all these fighters that were basically signed to him without signatures. And so he's left high and dry. I feel much more for him than I do Bob Arum or any other promoter. But at the same time, it's not illegal. It's not against any law that I know of. And it sure as hell has nothing to do with the Muhammad Ali Act. So where does this basis come from between ethical principles and legalities? Because to me, they're very separate issues. Maybe Al Heyman is a bad man, but he's not a bad man in the sense that he's evil. There's just a few people in this industry that got dicked over by him, and they have right to complain, and they have every right to sue if that's what they want to do, but it doesn't mean that they're going to win, and it doesn't mean that Al Heyman's wrong.
All right, we're going to open up the phone lines to a very lucky few out there and take your takes on this whole Al Heyman, Top Rank, Oscar De La Hoya, even Kathy Duva started this all up, lawsuit versus Al Heyman Boxing LLC and PBC and whatever other else the money might be hiding under. 404, you're live. Who's this? Where you calling from? 404. 404. You're live?
Or maybe he's not.
All right. 908, you're up. Mm, 908? I don't know. Something's definitely wrong. When I go to the callers and I unmute it, it mutes itself. So we might not be able to take calls. We're going to keep trying here. We're going to go to 813. Switchboard's acting up, I guess. Well, we still gave you top-notch radio is what we gave you. Unfortunately.
Lance Pugmire, it was Pugmire, right? Lance Pugmire was, that was awesome stuff, man. That dude is just, he has it all, man. He has this whole thing figured out. Man. He's definitely got those contacts, but he has a very good way of assessing the whole situation and explaining it. That's the biggest thing to me is, for everyone that probably saw it today, it was a big story about airlines. They're handing down junctions, and the fact that these guys have kept the prices so high and they keep buying each other out, although they were allowed to buy each other out and merge companies. Now they're taking a lot of flack. So with boxing, he said that these kind of situations is when the government and certain institutions will get involved. That's the biggest thing to me, because a lawsuit can only go so far. Lawyers can have to work within the confines of the law and what they're able to practice. But if you have the Federal Trade Commission and the Justice Department stepping in, I mean, there are things that they can do that are far that can be accounted for. They can get to the bottom line, and their investigations are going to be thorough. It doesn't always work for sure, and so I don't know. I would like to see them get involved only in the sense that we clear up exactly what it is that's going on. Because, like Vic said, whether Top Rank gets $100 million or $100, whether Golden Boy ever sees a penny, that's between them. That has nothing to do with me as a fan. I don't care. I don't care if Golden Boy gets money or Top Rank gets money or Al loses money or whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is things from this point on are set in motion to be carried out correctly and under the law and in a just manner for the fighters that fight, because that's what this is all about. It's sad that all of this news, it reflects the business side of everything, and so I understand that, but this is the fight game. You know what I mean? And these fights between Al Haymon and Top Rank, and even Top Rank and Golden Boy in the past, they take away from what we actually enjoy about this sport. And so if at the very least, at the end of all this, we can get some clarity and things can be set in motion to be upheld from now on, and we can have exact legislation as it pertains to what a manager does, what a promoter does. And I know that's far-fetched, but I think we need something. We need something to protect these fighters, and we need something to be certain in a sport that's not ever. MLB, NFL, they're not monopolies because they receive money, from these, from the, government. I'm not sure exactly what it all entails, but they don't work the same. And boxing's kind of left out on its own in this island, and people are able to do. I mean, it's Thunderdome is essentially what it becomes. And so, how does that help? How does that hurt? We need to figure that out. It needs to be addressed. And at the end of the day, the one thing that Lance brought up that was really interesting was the timeline of it all. And I think it was James who asked him the question of where did this all come about? I mean, was Bob at Les's house with Al Haymon sipping tea in the back of his mind thinking, I'm going to sue the shit out of you when this is all done? You know what I mean? Like, is he shaking his hand knowing that same hand is about to go and sign some sort of documentation saying that they're going to sue these guys? Like, when did he realize that he was going to follow through with this suit? And that kind of brings up a lot of shady things as far as the negotiations for Pacquiao Mayweather.
Yeah, I think all this was in the makings. They just needed the right opportunity. But look, it looks like the switchboard's acting up. We're not going to be able to take any callers. So unless you guys want to keep passing it around, we've done our job. We've explained the. Let me see, Robbie, are you there? Nope. You see, it's not working.
And now that I think of it, Ness, remember you went to Robbie earlier before the show started, and we never heard anything from him, right?
No.
Yeah, we went to him, or you tried to bring him on, and before the show started, and we never heard anything from him.
Yeah, the switchboard is having a little problems, but hey, man, at least it's a podcast, and like I said, we explained this Top Rank Inc. lawsuit against Al Haymon. We had one of the good writers here that cover the sport of boxing, and Lance Pugmire, come on and explain all the ins and outs. Any final thoughts from my panel here?
My final thought would be is that I agree with you guys. I think what Al Haymon's doing is good for us as a fan, also good for us as a media. But you guys don't agree. But I think this lawsuit has some, I guess, some clout in the sense that I think that it could, kind of get something could happen from this. So we'll see where it goes from here.
I actually agree with you, James. I think this lawsuit does have clout. We'll see what happens. Definitely in the next few months, the landscape of this sport. I mean, it has already changed, but it might change even more. At the end of the day, I'm for the guy who gives the best fights. The other stuff, whatever.
I think that at the end of the day, if we're going to take anything away from this, it's got to be that the pressure is being felt. We all talked about at the beginning of the year when we didn't know exactly what PBC would be and how it would shape out, what it would do to the promoters. And the promoters continue to say that they'd be fine. Golden Boy said that they were in the business of making the best fights and they were going to work with Arum, and Arum said that he was going to continue. And every time I've talked to Arum, he's gave me no implications that he's felt any sort of heat from PBC. Not only that, he's in a lot of times he's taken it kind of personal. There was that one interview, and I don't remember. I apologize because I don't remember what channel I saw it on, but somebody asked a question at the Mayweather-Pacquiao press conference about the pressure from PBC and Al Haymon. They asked Arum, and Arum just walked off on the guy. In fact, if I remember correctly, he was pretty rude to him and walked off on the guy. So we always figured that there would be some sort of heat felt, but these promoters made it seem like it was never going to be that big of a deal. I think that these two lawsuits are indicators of how much heat they're feeling and how much pressure they're under, and the competition has risen to a new level, and they're beginning to feel it. There is Cotto Canelo, like Beeb mentioned, and there are guys like Golovkin and Andre Ward. So the sport doesn't completely revolve around Al Haymon, and it never will. But at the end of the day, if you're looking 2-3 years into the future, you got to wonder what you're going to be able to do once these fights sort of pass. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's what's going on now, is they're starting to realize, they're doing the math, and they understand that after Canelo Cotto, what else can they do? And they're trying to do whatever they can to right the ship.
They're scrambling, brother. They're scrambling is what they're doing. And again, I can't say it enough. Beeb, he really said it best. They're losing, so they're mad. They're trying to take their ball, and they don't know how to win. So they want to bring down what is something that's very good for boxing. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are getting on TV. More people are knowing them. We're getting more fights. I don't care about how much money he's losing, James. I don't care how much money the fighters are making, Vic. I don't care about $2.5 million checks that Chavez is putting out there. I don't care. I just want to see fights. And right now, that's what I'm getting. Like Vic said, look, I forgot about that Sunday fight myself. It was Sunday, man. I was in Vegas, and I was sitting there with Sean, and I'm like, yo, you really want to go to this fight? And then we was watching. Listen, I watched half of the Omatoso Vasquez in his house. And I'm like, damn, this is a fight. Okay? And that's what happened. By accident, we got a great fight. So I'm all for it. Look, I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm going to say, even if something happens, I don't think it's going to demolish PBC. Like, I don't think they're going to make them break PBC down and say, okay, no more PBC because Al Haymon was found guilty of the Muhammad Ali Act. I mean, I'm sure the CEO of the company could take over and just do things properly, right? Like, I don't think they're going to close the business down. And I don't think that the network television companies are going to say, oh, you're being sued, we don't want to do business with you. No, I don't agree with that. Let me try this caller, see, because I don't know. Somebody...
Hey, that's Scott, MV Chu's on Skype. I don't know if you want to try to take Skype callers.
Oh, okay. Did he call?
MV Chu said he just sent me a message on Twitter. I thought you said that Skype was down too, but I guess it's just Blog Talk.
Yeah, well, it's not down. But 917, are you there? 917-208.
I hear something.
What's up, brother? Talk to us. Yes.
It's the Casual fan, man. What's going on?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. We got lucky, brother. This thing wasn't letting anybody on. So QB, don't hang up. Maybe I could go back to you.
Updates ready to install.
Yo, I'm gonna sound like this sort of dumb man. I'm happy for the lawsuit, to be honest with you, because we are seeing fights that I like the nighttime fights. I think boxing is an evening sport, so I'm happy with how it already was. I miss fights when they're early, but I'm happy for the lawsuit because at the end of the day, you want to see the American League face the National League and see who's the best, right, and win a championship. And because of the separation of Al Haymon's camp, the Golden Boy camp, the top-ranked camp, as well as like Showtime and HBO, you mention a fighter and then it's like, oh, well, we won't see that happen because they're committed to Showtime or they're committed to HBO. I think all that should be broken up, and hopefully this brings, it to light. I mean, we don't lose PBC, but there's more unity, even if there is bad blood. They got to figure out how to split the pie up, and we're missing out on fights. The fans, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, thank you for the Amir Khan versus Algieri on a Friday night fight. and making that better than the other fight. Thank you for the Lamont Peterson versus Garcia. Thank you for the Thurman versus Guerrero. Thank you for the Sean Porter versus Broner. But then there's others like, no thank you. You know what I mean? So my report card, it gets a C. You know, it can be better. The unity is needed. And that's what we lack. And
but you see, that's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. How could you give him a C when in 3 months he's done triple the amount of work that the other networks have done?
Well,
so even if you got a couple of, hold on, let me just tell you this, because even if you got a couple of bad eggs, you still got a whole other fucking 20-something dozen.
You're only looking at 3 months of him being like PBC, you know what I'm saying? But the plan was in the making for many years. You know what I'm saying? That shit ain't just strike up December and say, all right, here's my New Year's resolution. By March, I'm going to start. No, that shit was planned out, you know what I'm saying, for many years. And he's been in the game for years. So his restaurant has the most stake, because he stopped the trucks. He paid the trucks. They're coming this route. This is the route where everybody gets paid.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What world do we live in where we have to be nice to our neighbor if they're our competitor?
No, you're absolutely right. They are
Listen, liquor licenses come with a restriction that you can't open up within a certain miles from that liquor license. You can't compete. So if that didn't exist, they would open up everywhere, and whoever got the better liquor store would sell more.
You're right, but at the end, right, in the end of the day, right, the volunteer people are the fans. We volunteer to watch the shit, right? So we are the backbone of the restaurant, if you want to put it in that as a parallel to restaurant, you know. But, you know, there's lack of variety. Like, I wish we had Oscar De La Hoya's secret gravy on this steak, but now we can't get it.
No, we don't. No, we don't, because Oscar secret gravy is only Canelo. That's all he got. That's all he got.
Canelo, so who wouldn't you like to see Canelo fight somebody of the PBC roster?
Yo, you talking about one guy? One guy doesn't make or break boxing.
He's got Lemieux. He's got Lucas Matisse.
Would you like to see Rigondeaux fight?
Yo, this resurrection of Lemieux has got me sick, man. I mean, am I the only one that has not forgot about this guy being a fucking bum?
Hey, he beat Endam better than Peter Quillen.
I would absolutely not say that David Lemieux is a bum by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not high on him, but
okay, listen. You won't say that. You won't say that, and nobody on this panel would agree with it. But am I lying, B? 2-3 years ago, they wasn't calling this fucking guy a bum. But
that's 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, we all hated
I've given him a little bit of credit, but again, what's gonna happen when he gets in with Triple G?
What's going to happen with anyone who gets in Triple G? Danny Jacobs.
Let me ask you this.
He hasn't fought anybody with some power since being knocked out. They doing an Amir Khan on this kid, and you guys are falling for it.
Can he beat Quillen? Would you pick him over Quillen right now?
I would.
Yes.
I would.
That's a tough. That's a tough.
That down fight must have been good.
Who's Quillen? Andy Lee fucking beat the brakes off of Quillen.
Would you pick him over Andy Lee right now?
Yes.
That's a good fight, but I think Lemmy wins.
Andy Lee stopped that dude.
Are these definitive yeses, or are these maybe the other guy could win?
I think I'd pick him definitively beat Lee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think he could beat Quillen.
Okay. Yeah, I think both of those are great matchups, but listen to what Ness just said. All right, let's highlight this. I'm gonna bring this back, DJ Screw style. Okay, I'm gonna chop this up for Ness. Ness, you just talked about Andy Lee like he's a world beater.
No, I didn't.
You just said he was
all I said he would beat Lemieux. That's all I said.
Okay, fine. Like he's some great gift to the middleweight division. Let me tell you this: you were calling this man a bum when he lost to Chavez. You were calling this man everything under the sun. Why can't people resurrect themselves when they lose? David Lemieux can resurrect himself. These are learning. This was a learning experience for him. He was still a young fighter when he took these L's, man. He's not some polished fighter.
Is that chin young? Is that chin young? Because when Triple G tests that chin, we're going to see just how young of a fighter he is.
Man, Triple G makes everyone old. Triple G makes everyone old. That's unfair.
Peter Quillen got the same power, and Andy Lee got the same power, and they will put it on that boy because he ain't got no chin.
What about this matchup? David
Make it
Lemieux
happen. Make it happen then. Oh, but it
Curtis
can't.
Stevens. What about David Lemieux versus Curtis Stevens?
Yeah, that's who we need to go fight. He need to go fight Curtis Stevens, see what he can do there.
So
But you know what, Curtis Stevens doesn't even let his hands go. Whatever. Let's get to QB if we could get him. QB, you there?
Yeah, just.
What happened, Casual?
I just wanted to finish, man. I wanted
Go ahead.
To say,
Hello.
You guys brought up Lemieux.
Hello.
Suleiman, did I go to you, Suleiman?
Right here, man. Holla at me right here. I'm right here, ready to go.
But I ain't go to you though. Yeah, Casual.
Yeah, man.
Suleiman be bugging.
Like that, man. I'm happy that the PBC lawsuit is happening, and I hope that out of it, that it remains PBC, but that we see more, fights like that Lemieux fighter versus a PBC fighter. Maybe he could fight Peter Quillen if Triple G doesn't destroy him and ends him up. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the night, you want to see the champion fight the champion.
That lawsuit to me doesn't mean nothing. Like I'm not at home losing sleep over Lemieux versus Quillen not happening, man. Like you guys are bugging with this bullshit.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Vic, you losing sleep? You losing sleep over Lemieux Quillen? Are you fucking nuts?
Is that the Pacquiao Mayweather middleweight fight?
I mean, there's no other Pacquiao Mayweather out there right now.
All right, so
it.
but Lemieux Peter Quillen, that's not even.
But you want to see, but
would you rather
the point my man's trying to make, which I think you're missing, is that he wants the best to fight the best.
Okay,
and
so
with
would
the
you rather
exactly?
You want to see Cotto?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you're jerking off over there, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Cotto's the lineal.
Would you rather see Cotto Triple G or him or Lemieux Triple G? Cotto Triple G or Lemieux Triple G? Would you rather?
I would rather see Lemieux Triple G.
Same here.
I'd rather see Cotto, man.
I'd rather see Lemieux Triple G because it could happen, and then we don't need to worry about Lemieux versus anybody because he'll just be proven to be the bum that he is.
And then what about Triple G? And then what about Triple G, Ness? What about Triple G? Let's say Danny Jacobs and Peter Quillen fight, and one of them wins. Let's say Peter Quillen wins. You don't want to see Peter Quillen and Triple G? Because that won't happen either. None of these fights are happening. Canelo's that ultimate guy. Canelo's that ultimate guy. Oh, man, come on.
Exactly. The best PBC has that middleweight.
PBC will make it happen.
The best PBC has at middleweight is Danny Jacobs versus Peter Quillen. Come on.
That's their in game.
PBC gave you.
There's a division that's totally being ignored.
Good point, Vic. Good point, Vic.
PBC
gave you DeGale Durrell.
That's
okay.
PBC gave you Lee Quillen. Okay. They willing to do business.
Because they can control. Because they can control those guys. That's what you don't understand. They can control those guys. They can't control Canelo. They can't control Triple G. Those guys call shots.
Is Billy Joe Sanders mad at Al Haymon, or is he fucking happy? Did he make a video saying, "Hey guys, I gotta do what I gotta do"? That step aside money was too fucking big.
And who's Billy Joe? And who's here to be calling? Who's here to be calling shots? He's not calling shots. How can they dictate that?
They stepped over his ass. They stepped over his ass.
The fighters aren't Suleiman. I mean, not Suleiman. Look at Solomon, right? Look at Solomon. He fought Jermaine Taylor. He lost.
But who is he?
Who the hell is that? No one knows who the fuck that is.
It's not about who is he, Mario. It's called opportunity. He's giving people families. He's giving families opportunities.
But who cares about that? He's not making the matches. The matches that
you watch. You watch in 3 months.
Want to play. It's the other
3 months.
Listen, how did he swallow Mike Tyson?
Let me in.
Everyone.
In 3 months, Lemieux's going to be signed to Al Haymon. You watch.
Okay, let me
It
ask
won't
you a
happen.
question.
It
No, that
won't
won't happen.
happen.
He's got him locked. Golden
Nah,
Boy's
he's
got him locked.
already,
Let me ask
he's
you a
already
question,
in his
Ness.
own lawsuit.
Let me ask you a question, Ness. Who does Terrence Crawford, in my opinion, is one of the best 140 guys in the
Terrence
world?
Crawford
Who does he fight? Who does he fight?
He does what Mayweather did. He smartens the fuck up. He realizes he's not Mexican and they're not going to push him, right? There's no
Okay.
guys for him to fight, and he goes and jumps ship like Mayweather. and he does what he
So you're saying the only way Terrence Crawford can get a fight is if he goes to Al Heyman? That's exactly what me and Vic are saying.
That's exactly what casual fan is saying.
Over.
Al Heyman will sign him next week. Al Heyman will sign him.
Bodied yourself.
No, listen to me. I
Bodied
understand
yourself.
what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is what I've been saying, Mario. You just misunderstanding it. I've been telling you the fighters themselves are going to get tired of not getting A, same level exposure, B, big ass fucking check, C, big ass bonus check, okay? It's just
Mikey
plain,
Garcia.
man.
They're all going to go to Al Heyman.
Mikey Garcia's still mad at, listen, Mikey Garcia's still mad. We just
when you
put out a
talk
video
about
today.
exposure,
We put out a video
exposure-
today. Mikey Garcia's still mad at Bob Arum, but you guys are mad at Al Heyman. Come on. I don't see no
I wanna see
fighters
the best
posted
fight.
up on camera talking about, man, I don't see it the way Al sees it. I just want out this contract. No.
Everyone's
You'll
trying to
see.
get out of their contract with Bob
You'll
Arum
see.
right now.
It's still two leagues. It's still two leagues.
Yo, you
There's
got
no
Kareem Mayfield.
Two leagues. That's the
Yo,
problem.
you got
There's
Kareem
two
Mayfield.
leagues.
He's hanging around PBC events trying to get signed. Like,
Who
you guys
cares
are
about Kareem Mayfield?
Donaire tried to get out.
Hey, Vic, you
He
know who
tried to
cares?
get out.
Hey, Vic, you so high and mighty. You know who cares about fucking Kareem Mayfield? Aaron Martinez. Because you would have said, who cares about Aaron Martinez?
Who
and
the
he
hell
went
is
and did
that?
it. He
said who?
Who the fuck is Aaron Martinez?
He made a name for himself.
Aaron Martinez is a great
Two
fighter.
people at the StubHub Center.
Yo, you drank that PBC Kool-Aid, Ness, and that shit was roofy.
Okay, so
like,
Mario, are you gonna forget Aaron Martinez dropping Guerrero the way that he did?
No,
Yeah.
Casual fan.
He's a great
I
fighter.
still haven't seen the fight, and I'm not gonna watch
fan.
it.
Casual fan. You're allegedly a casual fan. Do you remember Guerrero touching the canvas by another Mexican? There you go.
But that doesn't prove anything. Like, what does that
by another
prove?
Mexican.
What
Hey,
does that
casual fan. What was his name? What was his name?
By another Mexican.
That part I don't remember.
Exactly. So it don't mean
He
shit.
said it was Aaron Mexican.
Vic,
That's what he
Vic,
said.
that's not the way it works. It does mean something because
Yo,
they do
you
a
get
highlight
exposure.
reel.
Yo,
They do
man,
a
who's that
highlight reel just like
Mexican?
every other fight. What are you
Who's
talking
that
about?
Mexican? I don't remember his name, and I'm never gonna see him again because
That's
he's
not
garbage.
true.
His
That's
name was
not
Aaron
true. That's
Mexican.
not true because
Because he's
PBC.
garbage.
He called him Aaron
Listen,
Mexican.
we
That's what he
can't
said.
all talk over each other. And someone's
My bad,
got a
my
fucking
bad.
ambulance in the background. Might be casual fan in New York City, but that we all know that's not how it works. Casual fan, mute yourself. We all know that's not how it works, right? They all do corner to corner. They do those little segments. They're gonna show a clip of Aaron dropping this dude. Come on, man. Nobody's
Yeah, but
dumb.
You could show a clip of fucking Preston Parker dropping that guy Chingoski yesterday. Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is Aaron Martinez? I'm never gonna know who the fuck that is.
Let me ask you a question, Ness. You're high on Jojo Diaz, right? You like Joseph Diaz. So where does he go?
Wait. Which Joseph Diaz?
Jojo Diaz, the one from California.
Olympian. Yeah, you like him, right? You think he's exciting?
I want Al to sound Joel Diaz. That's what I want Al to do. Save
okay.
Joel. We got to make a shirt say "Save Joel Diaz."
Jojo Diaz. Joseph Diaz, that's who you're talking about, right?
All right, he's gonna be good. He's Mexican, baby.
And who's he gonna fight? And who's he gonna fight? And who's he gonna fight?
He's gonna be Canelo, nigga. They're gonna give him 30 straight bums until he on HBO chilling.
He's like a featherweight. He's not even close to that same weight class.
So what that mean? He can't get 30 bums?
Well, yeah, he can. Oh, you're saying they're gonna treat him like Canelo, but that's what I'm saying is okay. Let's say Joseph Diaz cements himself as one of the best. Don't you want to see him fight one of the best that Heyman's got on the other side? That's what you're gonna want.
One of the best right now. They got 3 of them. All right, they got no. Golden Boy. Before you start talking about Joseph Diaz, not even. Listen, let me talk, man, and you might learn something, nigga. Before you start talking about Joseph Diaz not fighting any of Heyman fighters, he got 3 people right now with De La Hoya that he could fight that he has not fought yet. El Camarón, right? Ain't that his name? Ramirez with the cowboy hat, same weight. right? Come on, Mario. Stop acting like you don't know this shit.
No, it's
acting
not
like
the
you
same
don't
weight.
now.
It's not the same weight.
Right.
Are you talking about the Olympian from Top Rank?
No, the Mexican dude. He just fought on Fox Sports Deportes, man, with the Mexican hat. Ramirez. I'm saying his name. What more you want? Julian Ramirez.
Julian, yes. Okay.
Oh, okay. And there's another one, right? You ready for this one? You ready for the super fight for Joseph Diaz? You ready?
Go ahead.
You don't got to worry about Haymon. You ready for the super fight?
Who is it?
Diego De La Hoya.
I knew you were going to go there. That's some bullshit.
Bullshit?
Who are they going to make their names off of? Who are they going to make their names off of to make that fight big? They got nobody to create names off of. They got to fight each other. They got to fight each other next year. That's a cash out fight right now. That's a cash out fight right now.
Mario, before Austin Trout, right? Who the fuck did Canelo fight? And Austin Trout was called, hey, Canelo. Come on, man.
He was given primetime exposure.
And
Where's
that's what they're going to do to Joseph Diaz, baby.
Oh, what? De La Hoya TV? They don't got no outlets, yo. Listen, they're not going to put him on HBO against bums.
Mario, what did Top Rank just do with Valdez and HBO? What did they do? You really fucking think that Valdez is going to get HBO and not Joseph Diaz? Knock it the fuck off. You grasping at strings right now.
Nah, you're crazy.
It's sinking.
You're crazy. You think that you said it yourself that you want to make a shirt called "Save Jojo Diaz." That's what you said.
No, Joel Diaz Jr.
Oh, Joel Diaz Jr. Okay, fine, whatever. Same thing.
He'll knock all of them out. He's the best kept secret at 130. Verdell better run.
You're crazy, yo.
Yeah, all right. Let him sign a Haymon and watch the war that happens.
They ain't never gonna fight Golden Boy fighters. The Top Rank fighters ain't gonna happen. That's the biggest issue.
Ain't no money over there. If you ain't Canelo, we don't know you. Who's over there? Gilberto Ramirez? Like, yo, hey, B.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Me and B, we losing sleep because guess what? We ain't gonna see Gilberto Ramirez. He ain't gonna be able to fight James DeGale. Man, shut the fuck up. Who gives a fuck?
I want to see Ramirez top Chavez ass though.
What Chavez?
Julio Cesar.
Man,
we won't get that fight. But let's not lose sleep over that. No.
Oh, and what about
let's get Funfora Cleverly or whoever the fuck.
I'm gonna tell you why you ain't gonna get that fight.
That's a great fight.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna tell you why you ain't gonna get Gilberto Ramirez versus Chavez and Vic and Mario over here acting like it's fucking a pay-per-view fight.
We the bum crew, bitch.
Two fucking bums. One that lost to Funfora, the other one ain't beat nobody, and you walking around here talking about it's a super fight. Oh, we ain't gonna get to see it. We ain't gonna get to see it.
Yeah, two of the
You're the only one talking about that fight. Nobody even heard of them.
Mexican
let
fighters.
alone in the same ring.
Well, let me ask you a question. What does Badu Jack go?
No. Let me ask you a question.
Let me ask you a question.
What weight? Do we even know? What weight?
Chavez is 168.
Yes, we want this fight. We want this fight that we're not going to be able to get because of Haymon. We don't even know the weight.
Hold the fuck up. Doesn't PBC make up weight classes?
All the time.
Whatever weight class you want.
Even on the day before the fight.
140.1, 140-1. Danny Garcia at 143.
Whatever Omar feels like weighing in at the day before the fight, whatever he feels like he wants to weigh in at.
If you want Zurdo not to be able to wear the Mexican hats anymore, send him over to PBC then. We'll teach him how to fight. Bring him over. Because Chavez is with Garcia, and Mikey Garcia tells me that Chavez has been at the gym every single day.
Man,
he said people have been talking shit. He doesn't show up to camp. Well, he's been showing up with Robert Garcia every day.
He meant he's been at Gym Pancakes. He meant he's been at Gym Pancakes every day.
Hold on.
He's been at Gym Pancakes every day. That's what he meant.
Time out. James, you're the one calm and quiet over there. You and Beeb answer this. Because first they said they wanted Roberto Ramirez or whatever the fuck his name is, Gilberto versus Chavez. Now he's calling Chavez a bum. I mean, which one is it? You want the super fight?
The point I'm making is Chavez versus Ramirez is a big fight in California. You could sell out the StubHub Center, you could sell out the Staples Center, but you won't get it. Chavez versus anyone is a big fight, dude.
Chavez is the name, and Gilberto isn't known. He's like 3 years away from being a fight with Chavez, selling out anything. Let's just be honest, Vic.
Next year. Come on, man.
Who's he going to build the name off of, Vic? He's a 168-pounder.
He sells tickets.
Who's he gonna build the name off of?
Mister, he sells tickets.
Just give me 2 fighters he could build the name off. Just 2.
It doesn't matter. If you make it happen next year, it's a super fight, dude.
Has
Leo Santa Cruz ever headlined shit and sold anything out? No.
Not that I know of.
But him and Morris is a super fight, right?
No. No. Hey, Mario, don't you do that good fight. Mario, wait a minute.
I'm going back. I'm going back.
Mario.
I'm going back.
Super fight means pay-per-view. Don't you fucking do no O, because ain't nobody paying for Leo Santa Cruz bum ass to fight Abner Morris. So ain't no no. That ain't no pay-per-view. And NBC, BBC, Spike TV, ESPN is free. So Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Morris is going to be free. That's right, Steve Kim. Free.
That's
Hold
a
on.
great fight.
You're flopping like a fish on a boat, and you're flopping and flopping. That's crazy.
Suleiman, it's on you, man. Don't listen to Mario. He know he lost. He's the one out of the water.
Amir Mansour's going to be on PBC, too.
Against Bermain Stavern.
Suleiman, we talking to you, buddy.
All right. You guys have a good time there, but I think Andre Wood will handle all those 168 pounders right there. He whip all of them. They should just wait online one by one, and he just knock them all out like dominoes. But yeah, this lawsuit, you know, I don't understand why everybody, you know, they're ganging up on Haymon. He's putting up some good shows there, and you know, all he should do is just, you know, see if he could nullify everything by just starting to work with them. And they give him a piece of the action, and maybe they'll make everything cool. The problem is there's disparity in talent. He got all the great prize fighters, and you know, there's not too many fighters right now that Bob Arum's got to work with. So maybe he could just work something out, negotiate something that, you know, they could just cancel the lawsuits, and then, you know, everybody be happy, and then you'd be putting more exposure out there. Besides that, I think Andre will clean that division. You know what I mean? What he did to Paul Smith, if he do it to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and one of these other guys, be a good show. And Oscar De La Hoya, you know, I don't see why he's so bitter. I mean, he could negotiate. Yeah, he's just trying to get that $100 million, and he's gonna probably have to wait 10 years for that. So, what's the sense of doing a lawsuit if he could just get these lawyers and lobbyists to work with Al Haymon, and maybe he could do something and just nullify all this, and they don't have to do none of these lawsuits, because what he's complaining about is that he want to get more talent, right? He want to get more exposure for the fighters. So, you know, just work with Al Haymon and see if he could do something, because, you know, this is his very in talent, but, you know, I don't see him going out of his way to sign any fighters either. You know, he got a lot of hotbeds to work with. He could go to Mexico, get some good amateur fighters and build them up. California, where he came from himself, and build some fighters. So, you know, I don't see why he's complaining about him. He's doing what everybody else is doing. So, you know, you guys have a good show, you know, and that Ramses Barthélemy right there, you know, that's going to be a good fight right there. I want to see him with Terence Crawford, Ramses Barthélemy. You know, I don't know, maybe you guys could set that up. You know what I mean? Start mentioning on the show. That'd be a good show right there. You guys have a blessed night. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say to MV Chu, I'm still here, and if you check your Skype, buddy, it says 3 straight times, call, and now one more, call. These guys love to say that, you know, you're ducking them or something like that. Well, final thoughts, whether he calls in or not. I am your host, NesGTO. I was happy to bring you guys this little show here, you know, courtesy of Vic, Lance Pugmire. Shout out to Gina for, you know, bringing Lance in, and Amy from Blog Talk for situating things, and B for doing such a great job where I didn't have to say much, because we really I felt like we were in sync with everything. You know, he was just saying everything I was feeling. I'm not upset at the whole series. It's only been 3 months, and thank you again to Myra. I didn't know that. I thought they were 6 months in. I just feel like it's too much of a good product. Is it great? No. Does it have kinks? Yes. Are there some things that need to be worked out? Yeah, but it's better than last year's model. Remember, I kept telling you, yo, why you riding with him? Because I want something new. I'm willing to try, and what I tried, I like. I like the big thing over the top of the ring that says PBC. I like all the lights. I like Hans Zimmer, Vic. I bought the fucking soundtrack. And while I take this call, I'm gonna show everybody on the camera on my iTunes that I got the soundtrack because this is MV Chew. And actually, let me play his.
That Superman one, right?
Let me play his intro since he finally called in, and I'm gonna show you guys my Hans Zimmer soundtrack.
That's a great soundtrack.
The Scottish warrior coursing through his veins. This man proclaimed,
I fucking love boxing. Yo, what's happening? Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear, with a lot of muffle.
Yeah, a lot of muffle, yeah. Thanks for having my call. Good to have you guys on, all 5 of you. It's a great show so far. I disagree with 90% of what Beeb's saying, what Vince is saying. I'm liking what Vic's saying, I'm liking what James is saying, Mario, somewhere in the middle, mate. But that's fine. Okay, first of all, this is why I don't like Al Haymon. I'm a consumer. I don't have to like Al Haymon. I appreciate that. I want him to be a success. I think every boxing fan does, but that doesn't mean that I think mediocre fights are happening or that somehow more equals better when it doesn't. I just think that when you think about all the best fights of this year, what are they? Kovalev, Pascal, fucking Matisse, Provodnikov, Amir Rahman against Magdaleno, that his name? All the best fights this year have been on HBO. None of them have been on PBC. Name me a PBC fight this year that has been of that quality.
Yeah, but there's a lot of PBC fights that on paper were supposed to be that quality. Specifically speaking of Thurman, Guerrero, Porter, Broner. I mean,
I like Porter Broner.
Exactly.
I haven't seen nothing wrong with that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not fair to say that all the good fights were on
time.
HBO, but there's been a few on actual. I mean, damn, I even liked Josecito Lopez versus Andre Berto.
You see what Vic said, except for Broner holding all the time. So now the network, the promoter, the manager, whatever he is, gets blamed for Broner holding. Like,
yeah.
Well, you're talking about the quality of the fight.
Mayweather beats Pacquiao, and
are we talking about the quality of the fight, or are we talking about Al Haymon? If we're talking about the quality of the fight, Broner's holding made that fight kind of unwatchable. He should have been knocked 0.4. I think Porter might have knocked his ass out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as well, there's no atmosphere at a PBC show. Isn't an atmosphere important? When I watch a Carl Frampton fight in Ireland, I'm buzzing before the guys even got to the ring. I don't get that on a PBC fight. These guys, they've got two Ohio fighters fighting in Vegas.
Change doesn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day.
I want them to succeed, Ned. We've had this discussion before, but that doesn't mean that he's not trying to take people out of business. This is really Schneider's what he's doing. He took fucking Schaefer when Oscar De La Hoya was in rehab, took all his fighters. Don King never done anything like that. Bob Arum never done anything like that. That's really
yeah. Well,
devious.
MB2, you're forgetting one vital piece of information.
Yep.
While your boy was doing whatever he was doing with all his little extracurricular activities, there was a meeting. There was offers. He did accept to sell the company. It's not Haymon and Schaefer's fault that he reneged on what he was doing. He decided to have a change of heart, and he's entitled to that. It's his company. You don't want to sell something or you don't want to do something, you don't have to force anyone to make you do it. But then don't cry when everything comes to the light. Because I don't know why you acting like he wasn't selling Golden Boy to Haymon.
Well, do you know the exact specifics to what happened? It sounds as if Schaefer went behind Oscar's back. That's what, looking at if that's what it looks like, then that's what it is. I don't know what you're referring to be honest.
Well, it could look that way. It could look that way, but we don't know how long they had that deal in play or how long Oscar was allegedly selling the company to them. Vic, wasn't it like a $50 million offer or something?
I forgot what it was, but it might have been 50. Might have been more.
There you go. I know there was an offer, you know.
See if someone came in to you, Nez, and offered you money for the boxing voice, would you sell it?
What?
I mean, we're talking
I
analogies here.
tell you what I won't do. I won't say that I am gonna sell it and then secretly let you fucking steal James, Vic, Beeb, and Mario. I won't be that dumb. I won't blame you. I won't blame you for them leaving. I'll blame myself.
And he also won't turn over total control to somebody and not check up on them and see what they're doing. How can you not go back and look at all your paperwork? It's like me, right? I have an investment, okay? I hire someone to invest money for me, right? I never go over and look over what he did. I just say go ahead and do it. I never check the funds that he put the money in. I never check to see how they're doing. I just leave them alone. That's stupidity. That's not the proper due diligence. If you own a company, you can't just walk away from a company, okay, and not check in and see how it's going and just totally not look at anything. How could he not look at those documents? How could he not
posting pictures from Puerto Rico and shit instead of being in his fucking office?
You deserve to be robbed if you give someone total control and you don't watch over them. That's like me at my job going on vacation and leaving someone else in charge and then not checking up on them and seeing what they're doing or something.
Hey Mario, MV2 wants us to feel bad for the guy that forgot to check Victor Ortiz's contract and shit.
That's retarded, man.
It's not. Oscar did it himself. He did, and I still
totally
feel
irresponsible.
I do, but I mean, at the same time, like, I don't even want to get into. Look, and
why did the Mellis contract? Why does the contract not expire? Why everyone else?
That's a good question. And look,
because he was on top of that one.
You know what? And listen, and I'm proud of Ness and Beeb right now because they didn't even mention the easiest crack they could have mentioned about Oscar's personal life. You know what I mean? Because whether it has something to do with it or not, they didn't even take that route. And guess what? They still made enough valid points to prove that was his own stupid fault. It was bad business. Whether it was also a bad personal decisions that allowed that mishap, we won't know for sure. But
look at Bob Arum. He has Todd DeBuff doing a lot of things for him, right? But, I mean, you don't see, like, things getting screwed up over there. Like, Bob doesn't wake up one day and then find out all his fighters assigned to somebody else. I mean, that's when does that ever happen before? When is a promoter ever let someone take all of their fighters right from under their nose like that? That's unprecedented. That's unprecedented. That's you have to be a real bad businessman to let he's got to be the worst promoter of all time to let that happen. Name one promoter that's ever let that happen before.
This guy Schaefer was employed by Oscar De La Hoya. When has an employee, worked against a boss to fucking move all the other employees under them to another company? That's unprecedented.
Man, let me tell you what is not unprecedented. That's called a hostile takeover.
Yeah, but
this shit happens in the corporate world all day. The big fish swallows the little fish all day. You guys are just crying, man. You're just crying.
But if you work for me, MV2, if somebody worked for me, okay, there's no way in hell I would ever allow them to sneak around behind my back like that. I just don't. I mean, you have to have some type of accountability with people who work for you. You just can't. You can't trust. You just can't give someone unconditional trust. I mean, people who are married sign prenups now. I mean, people are smart now. People don't just give, unconditional trust to another person. You have to be smart. You have to cover your ass.
I agree completely. But this thing, Oscar De La Hoya is an idiot. He's stupid, even without the drugs. I agree with you there, and that's why he's bought Bob Arum. And Bob Arum is like M. Bison in the courtroom, undefeated. You're gonna struggle to beat Bob Arum in the courtroom. Oscar De La Hoya couldn't do it. Bob Arum's gonna do it. I guarantee you, Bob Arum's gonna win this.
MV2, you're also the guy that said Haymon would fail a long time ago. I didn't forget you.
Oh, sorry. Has he succeeded?
Has he failed? Has he failed? Because I see every show that he's doing more ratings than any other shows.
PBC is awesome. I love PBC.
I mean, all you got to do is go show for show. Which one has done more? Which one has produced more boxing fans?
I don't think we can say that for sure, though.
What do you mean you can't? You could go off ratings. Just because hold on a minute. Just because you want to say it's unfair because HBO's in a certain amount of homes and NBC is not, that doesn't matter. That sounds like
it does matter.
Hold on, brother. It sounds like the same shit we used to cry about when it was Showtime versus HBO. And people used to say, well, Showtime's not in as many homes as HBO. It doesn't matter, bro. What matters is that number is higher than this number. It's just the bottom line. Week after week. Week after week.
Is PBC beating HBO and Showtime?
Yes.
Then that's a win.
Well, if you
shaking your head no, how many million?
Because when you go off ratings, you can also check ratings numbers, not just the raw viewers. If it does a 0.9, that means it wasn't that good.
Exactly.
I mean, you just can't go off raw numbers.
Well,
it's not fair.
I see PBC doing 2.4, 4.8.
If that's just a 0.9, that's just a 0.9 rating.
Okay, which one is a 0.9, Vic? Which one was it?
A 0.9 on a Saturday night is only 2 million viewers.
Which one? And that's still more than HBO.
But it's not good with the audience that it has, dude. If you got 2 million viewers out of an audience of 200 million, how good is that?
You can't make more boxing fans than what there is. You think because the TV set is in more homes, it's automatically going to make more boxing fans?
That's the point of PBC.
Yes, that's going to take time, Vic. That's not going to happen.
I understand that.
Yes, you said that.
Make them. No, Mario, I never said.
You said they're making more boxing fans. That's what you said.
They are making more,
they are.
And their numbers are more. The numbers have been declining since the beginning. Listen to me, please. I just want to say this. There's no way we could just assume, because hypothetically, there's 100 million television sets that all of those people like boxing. Stop it with that. That's ridiculous.
Can I just ask one question that's very, very important? You don't think that there's some people just flipping their channels and they're stumbling across this? You don't think they're going to come back? You don't think they're getting any new fans?
I mean, by the numbers, they're kind of declining. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
but wouldn't the numbers decline because now you've seen that the ads themselves have kind of fallen off. You don't see them as much as you usually do on all the websites. I mean, certain things like that. I agree with Ness and Beep completely 100%. I mean, although maybe the percentages aren't there, you're not getting 10% of the people that typically watch NBC at this time. 2.5 million viewers, 2 million viewers is still more than you get on HBO. And at the end of the day, it's the casual fan that fills that gap. It's not more boxing fans randomly are going to watch it now because it's on NBC, not on HBO. They are growing the brand, and that's where I like to see this moving. Is even if the numbers are declining, this is still better numbers than we're getting at anything else. And at the end of the day, it matters the eyeballs. We want to capture these people. We want to make sure they're watching, and we will get that if it continues to do this. If they can't slide below HBO numbers, but even then, we're still getting good numbers.
But who's to say that those guys...
James said exactly what I said, and he's smart. I'm the dumb one. I mean, I don't get it.
The raw numbers are more, but they're not good numbers.
But Vic, in order to do a comparative analysis, we have to wait and go ahead 6 months and then take those numbers and compare.
You're right.
Well, that's fine, right. But don't try to tell me that those are great numbers. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
I'm impressed, though. I am. I'm sorry. I'm impressed.
How could you argue that, Vic? Are they more than HBO? Yes or no?
I'm impressed.
Are they more back to HBO?
Are they more?
Back to HBO.
Are they more?
Yes. Go ask.
Are they more?
You don't let people talk, but when people cut you off, you get all shit hype.
I just want to know, are they more?
They're more, but they're not good.
Okay, and explain this why? Why they're not good?
Good. Because, Nestor, if CBS has 200 million viewers and 130 million people watch the Super Bowl, well, guess what? They've captured an audience. If only 900,000 of those 200 million people are watching boxing, then no, those are not good numbers.
But shouldn't you compare it to
Wait a
other?
minute, babe. Let me
You compare it to other boxing shows though? Why would you compare it?
Why would you compare it to other boxing shows when they're
Exactly.
not on the same time
It's
slot
on
or having
it's on network
fun?
TV. You got to compare it to what's on network TV.
Women's softball.
I don't see it like that.
You can't do that, Mario and Vic.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
Why
can.
is NBC? Hold on. Why is NBC gonna keep boxing if women's volleyball is doing better numbers? Why? Of course you have to compare it to what's on NBC.
Okay.
Of course you do.
Okay. Now, and you might be right. Okay. You might be right.
You may have
That's the important number there. That's the important number.
Okay,
You may have
listen.
scored a good blow there.
Listen, you might be right on the executive side. The executives are like, why are we wasting my time on this when this makes more, right? But at the end of the day, the bottom line still is this. PBC does more views than any other boxing show. And it is, hold on a minute, because I let you talk. It is unfair of you to say there's 130 million homes and only 2 million people. That 130 million TV sets doesn't make 130 million fans, because I have every fucking channel known to man, and I don't watch baseball, I don't watch football, I don't watch hockey. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean shit. Just because I got the channel doesn't mean nothing. You can't just categorize me as a fan of a sport because you want to make the numbers look bad. No, the numbers are black and white. The numbers are black and white. HBO is doing less than PBC.
Numbers. You're in those numbers, though.
You're comparing it.
When hockey draws the point and gets 4 million fans, you're in those numbers. You're included, whether you like it or not.
But you know why the comparison's unfair? Can I just say one thing and I'll shut up? This is why the comparison's unfair. Because those sports you're comparing it to and the other shows you're comparing it to have been on the networks for a while. And boxing has just come back. So you have to give it more time to be able to compare it to those, because those other shows, like Mario's saying, women's volleyball. Okay, women's ball, they've been showing stuff like that on regular network TV for a while now.
The Super Bowl been on TV?
Yeah, the Super Bowl's been on for years. I mean, let's give this at least a year.
They've built cult followings with free TV.
Exactly, and let's do a comparative analysis after a year's time.
So that's fine, but that's fine with me. But let's not compare it, to HBO numbers, because.
And your point is well taken. I understand what you're saying, and it does have merit. But my counter argument to that, not to be redundant, is all those other shows that are doing better because they've been there longer. Let this have some longevity first, and let's see if it gets pulled, which I don't think it's going to get pulled. Okay. I think it's going to at least be around for a year. I think it's going to be around probably way longer than that. But let's just take a look at it. Let's give it 3 months is way too early to make to try to make a determination.
Look at what someone in the chat said. In the chat, I think Black77 says that Game of Thrones drew 2.2 million views on their season premiere, and that is one of the most popular TV shows. 2.2. Okay.
Obviously, in comparison, I mean it kind of, when you think about the numbers, you can't really, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't, just because it didn't live up to expectations doesn't necessarily make that it has bad ratings themselves. Just because we thought it was going to get 4.5 doesn't necessarily make it bad when it gets 2.5.
I don't think it's a failure. I think the numbers are respectable. I think the numbers are respectable. I don't think they're horrible.
I think you got to wait, like you said, Beeb.
I think that you guys are also forgetting one key element. I mean, there's not going to be a market analysis guy in PBC. No one told the investors, hey, maybe for the first couple of years we're only going to do 2 million until
it's a paper loss.
Like, I don't understand what world these people live in. You guys have obviously, and I'm not speaking on my panel, obviously, I'm just in general, but obviously these people have never been in the real world where shit really happens. Like, people don't just start things with no fucking backup plan or no mission statement. Like, they know their goals when they open up a business. You know.
Well, you said it perfectly. You said it perfectly, Ness. You said that Haymon went into this saying he was going to take a loss. He was going to be in the red for a while before they could make any real gains. And I agree. That's how anyone with any kind of brain has to go into it knowing that they're going to stay in the red for a while. And I think that gives them some comfort room early on. but at the same time, they got to make some strides eventually.
Not to mention, another reason why I'm not upset about the ratings being a little bit lower is that I feel that when it first started, a lot of people were hyped up, and like I said, the advertisements have dropped, but boxing in general for the last few years, unfortunately, has like a negative aura around it that it really does need to shed. So the more these fights keep happening on, big networks like this, I do believe the numbers will climb, especially now that we got someone like Keith Thurman that they're really trying to promote. They're trying to build, and you can kind of see the peak going towards, these top caliber fighters to start going, but, I mean, I think what Al Haymon's doing behind the scenes is kind of messed up, but like I said, as a fan, I think that what he's doing for the sport is good, and I can see exactly why it's going down the way it is.
All right, let's end it.
Let me just say one last. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Let's use the Boxing Voice as an example. Did the Boxing Voice make money its first year?
No.
It took you 3 years where you were able.
Well, I mean, every year it made money, but obviously every year made more than the last.
But it took you 3 years to be able to leave your job and do this full time. So it was a process, right?
Yep. And Beep knows that I projected 5 years. I said
what did
5.
What did Beep say? What did Beep say?
You said it would happen sooner.
Beep said about 2 or 3 years. That's what Beep said.
So the analogy that he's giving you guys is everything takes time, and no one goes into it thinking they're going to be an overnight success. It just doesn't happen.
Boxing Voice. Now the Boxing Voice is exploding right now, man. It's like a fucking orgasm.
Well, I want to say I'm getting a lot of negative comments in this chat. What I will tell you is this. All our episodes are on audio. You could go back. I said everything that just happened years ago. So, not years ago, but months ago, let's say. I said exactly how it would happen, and it happened that way, and you guys are mad, and I'm not. End of story. I'm your host, NesGTO. Follow me on Twitter, @NesGTO, and I'm joined alongside all these guys. One by one, they're going to say their Twitter.
@Marimungia.
@BoxingVoice_Vic.
@Jameson Rocket, Jameson with an I.
@JHibbeep1. And I'm gonna add PBC to the end of that.
Joel Lopez 40 ounce says Beeb equals TBE.
Should be BBC. BBC.
Thank you very much.
BBC.
It's gonna be BPC.
The true BBC.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. We got a jam-packed show tomorrow. We're gonna have Antoine Douglas. We're gonna have Derek Webster, and we're gonna have Adam Lopez. All hot up-and-coming prospects, not signed to Al Haymon.
They will be soon, though. They will be soon.
Later.
Peace.